Hey, hey, hey. I'm pretty sure my audio is pretty good, but I'm going to ask you anyway, right now. Hello, Victoria. Pamela Swan, moderators, thank you very much. Let's see, let's get that out of here. Let's remove that from studio. All right. Now, excellent audio. Awesome. I really do like this new camera. New mobile setup's pretty damn good. Okay. Virginia Beach. It's coming up pretty fast. I think it's less than 2 weeks. It's going to be a pretty special one. Still have a few seats open. Archaics website is about to get revamped. I'm about to drop another 20 courses on Archaics Academy. I'm doing the final touches now. Archaics Academy, you guys, you know, for those of you who have looked at the first 20, you already know it's complex. In the end, Archaics Academy is only going to be 68 courses, but I'm probably going to have a lot of bonus stuff, just free stuff to those who participated, because the courses don't cover everything. It just covers everything to make you an expert in whatever the topic and subject matter is for each course. So, I don't have a whole lot of announcements, but you already know Archaics is all about the pattern break. It's all about taking advantage of the pattern break. It's all about understanding when something unexpected occurs, to pay attention, because those are the nodal points in your life when a whole influx of energy can be harnessed by you and propel you into a whole new direction. It's the pattern breaks. It's the unexpected incidents in life that do this for you. Some of them are painful, but you know what? Today is one of those pattern breaks, because thus far, my guest is not in the studio and has not responded to emails today. So I've never been in communication with Jeff Harmon, but Big John and I were in communication with somebody on his team and sent all his information, his picture, all that stuff. So I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't even matter, because you'll just have to wait another day. So we got something else we can do. I'm about to drop the Archaics email in the chat right here. I'm about to drop the Archaics email into the chat. And for those of you that I recognize, a lot of new people, I'm sorry, I'm not going to recognize you, don't bother emailing. But if you know and you're well established and you're somebody who's been a participant in Archaics for a long period of time, you have an open invitation right now to join me, and you'll pop up in a window right here. I hope you don't, knock out my Death Star, but you can pop in right now. Total pattern break, freestyle Q&A, except you get to ask your questions in person. Dropping the email in the chat right now. I've been talking about doing this for a while, just haven't done it. Victoria, you get in there. When you email me, listen, guys, if you're new to Archaics, I'm telling you, I'm not going to respond to your email. I'm just not. There's at least 100 people in this chat that I'm familiar with because of repetition and because of ongoing dialogue so many times, so many presentations. But I might surprise you. I might reach out and get somebody who thinks I might know who they are. All right, mods, would you repetitively repost the email? I just posted it. This is the email. Drop it to me right now. I'll be going through it during the video, and you'll start seeing windows pop up of people joining us, and we'll be joining us live. That's the way we're going to do it. At the end of the video, I'll change the thumbnail. I'll change the thumbnail accordingly. It's okay. Hey, Jeff is more than welcome to come and reschedule for another day. It may be a time zone deal. I don't know. I just haven't heard from him from the email sent to him this morning with the invite link, and he hasn't popped up in my studio. So evidently there's some miscommunication. But you know what? No hard feelings. He's more than welcome later on. But right now, we're fixing to do this. All right. So let me, without further ado, start popping them in here. You guys, hey, it's a pattern break. I don't have a clue who. I don't have a clue who's going to pop in. Don't even know. Don't even have a clue. But if you got a question, and you want to ask it live, Victoria, Face Diaper, Rhino from Texas, yeah, Neanderthal. Come on, guys. I see you, Jamie Robbins. Don't hide, Fearless Vic. Don't hide. Those are my moderators, Mr. C. Yeah. It doesn't have to be NC Gunner. NC Gunner, I've been knowing you a long time, man. Don't hide. You guys got a question. I don't care what it's about. Some of y'all changed your names, so I may not recognize you anymore. I don't know. Yeah, Nanny Puffins. You know you always got questions. You know you're always trying to beat me up online and stuff. Jason, I can't believe you talked to that guy. You know you want to get on there, Nanny Puffins, to talk shit. Yeah, man. Affy and I are going to be doing a video in the future. Get in there, Affy. Ask a question. I know a lot more of you than you think. Garden Gnome, you've been here a long time. Valiez, you're not fooling me. I know you've been here. Come on. James A. Falconberg, a.k.a. Rip Steel. You already know I know you. Come on, man. You've been here forever. Nancy Neal. Nancy Neal has gone to every single Archaics meetup. If she finds out we're in another state, she stalks us. That girl's going to get her hugs. Yeah, get it. Yeah, you can ask a question. Know who you are. No, a bunch of people are. Let's see who pops up in these windows here. Email. You don't have to. No, don't ask me the question in the email. You're going to ask me when you pop up. I know some of you women just ran to the mirror. Oh my God, I gotta put this on. They're gonna see me. I didn't know I was gonna be on YouTube today. Yeah, come on, get off this shit. Send that email. Yeah, man, there's a whole bunch. Squirrel Sniper, don't hide, man. Don't hide. Yeah, I know a lot of y'all in the chat today. I know a lot of you guys in the chat. Thank you. Death Star is badass. It is badass. It is. I'll be looking at the emails in a minute. Graybeard, you're known. Lady Rocks, yeah. I know a lot of you guys. There's a lot of people who are not here today. Sarah369 has been with me for 4.5 years from the beginning. Always quiet. David Keel, I think you're kind of new, but you've been very, 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 very active lately. Guys, my team and I, we pay attention. We're looking. We're watching. We can see who's really sincere. A whole lot of y'all. There's no doubt. Yeah, I'm in my Star Wars mode today. Take it back to the childhood sometimes. Yeah, there must be a misunderstanding, Annie. If you heard him today and he said he was coming on, but he's not here, it must be a time zone issue. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's right. Some of y'all at work. Oh, I don't take it personal, A1. I'm tech retarded too. I just send them an invite link. It's real simple. You just click onto it and it'll invite you in. Same thing I'm about to do for some of y'all. Oh, almost got 1,000 people in the chat. Bobo Jangles, don't be hiding. Don't hide. Yeah, I recognize a lot of names today. And there's new names too. I'm just getting. No, you don't even have to post my question, Victoria. No questions in the emails. Just send me an email, say you want to come on. I'm gonna pop you in. I'm about to look at emails here in a minute. You can ask the question on YouTube Live. Yeah, he knows you all too well, Nanny. Yeah, man. Yeah, Big John. I think Nanny's hiding. This girl's Nanny's about to explode. Every time she hears something she doesn't agree with, she's about to explode, and she goes off in the chat. And now she's been given a chance to rant. She's hiding behind the sofa. Hiding behind the sofa, looking at the YouTube screen. Man, I wish Jason wouldn't be calling me out like that. I haven't heard Johnny Wick. I have not heard from Static. I sent Static a message on Twitter. Other people have reached out to him. I've heard it's absolute silence. I haven't heard anything. I've only had two absolutely solid no's. I'm not coming on your channel. One of those was Big John can tell you who they are. I can't remember. Big John knows who they are. Yeah, some people at work can't participate. I get it. I get it. Yeah, I do get it. All right, I'm going to select a few. Problem is, I see a lot of names, but you didn't tell me who you are on YouTube. Yeah, some of y'all did. Most of you did. Most of you did. Let's see. Oh, okay. I was in the wrong section. Ooh, emails coming in now. Andrew Owino. Hey, bud. I'm going to pop you in, man. We all know Andrew. I'll tell you all about Andrew here in a minute. I will tell you about Andrew in a minute. Oh, there's Affy. I like Affy. I've been talking to her. Oh, we got people about to pop in. Right. This is just the first group, guys. This is the first group. Oh, man. I know this. I know CB. CB is all over Archaics TV. She hunted me down in Asheville. Great gift giver. All right. That's the first group. I sent 5 or 6 invitations. I got more to pull from, and I expect the emails to continue on. So now I'm about to pop them in. All right, check your emails, guys, because 6 of you guys, 5 or 6 of you just got your invite links. You got your invite links, which means you just click on the invite link. Oh, I got one already. I got one popping in. Hey, Abby.
Going.
Oh, it's going good. I'm waiting on a few more.
What happened with this guy?
Hey, you know what? It happens. I've been invited to podcasts, and sometimes the links are corrupted. The invite links don't work. It just happens. It's not common, but you know what?
Yeah.
I got tech problems too. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, hello. There's someone else.
Oh yeah, they're coming in. They're coming in today.
Andrew.
Hey, I got tech problems too. So
I
you're gonna have to cut your
see.
microphones off. If you're not the one talking, you cut your microphones off, or we'll get all this feedback. Right. So, all right, Affy.
Hello.
So Affy will be coming on my channel later on. Affy
Yes, I
is
will.
very, very knowledgeable on Quran and post-Mohammedan commentaries and the development of Islam. And you know what? She and I have already had some pretty deep conversations, and she sent me some fascinating PDFs. So that's in the future. In the near future, she and I will be doing our own podcast together. But until then, what you got? What you got to ask right now?
My question has always been, I get really confused around, the whole timeline of the 2239 cataclysm. I always get really confused about how the matriarchy sort of went. Like, and I know that you've spoken about this a few times, but I really would love to have just a quick from you, like, this is the order of events, this is how it went. I don't know if that's even a question I can ask at this point. I don't know. That's kind of where I was going with it.
Okay, so re-ask that question about the matriarchy.
Yeah, sorry, I'm asking the question to you.
Yes, you're asking me what happened to it?
No, so it's like, what was the transition? Because I know that you sort of talk about that there's text where it talks about how the population at that time, because of the events and what happened, they obviously had to basically give their daughters almost away because they needed that knowledge, right? Because of the state of affairs there. So what I'm trying to understand was that this matriarchal system, do the texts tell us that they actually were like running the show properly? Like, so they were actually like the rulers. Like, I know there are rulers in history, but what I'm saying is that was that the system?
Okay, check this out. That's a good question. And I'm going to take you to the 35th, 34th, and 33rd century BC. We're talking about the first appearance of the Anuna in the historical record. And the problem is 100% of all the information that we have was given to us post reset. We have no evidence whatsoever for the existence of writing at all in symbols, pictograph, with nothing. Cuneiform, nothing until after this massive cataclysm. So
exactly.
So we have what we're dealing with is the traditions show us that females were regarded as the authorities, the arbiters in situations. We're talking about a sedentary lifestyle. We are looking at traditions from the cargo cult perspective. And when we look through these lenses of post-reset civilizations, we see real clearly that in order for females to be running the show, in order for females to be venerated, in order for males to not even really be needed in a society for the typical roles that males are used for, it means that civilization must have been very, very comfortable, very advanced.
Exactly.
It must have been sedentary.
And that's kind of where I was going with it, right? That's exactly where my mind was going, because we don't have that level of information, like you said, from that far back. So we have so the written record starts from a certain point, but even when they sort of kind of observed that and sort of analyzed that, that was already sort of 2,000-3,000 years old information, right? That's what you.
Well, I think it was 6 or 7 centuries old by the writing. To me, for in my own research, what I have documented in Archaics is that writing was the attempt of post-reset survivors to record anything that they could remember in traditions from the world before. Because the Titan race, which lost everything, had given up. They knew that after the cataclysm, they would never again ever experience the amenities and type of civilization that they once enjoyed. Most of them died of depression. They went off. We have a lot of stories in Greek mythology of Titans wandering off to nowhere and just giving up. They just left. And their offspring, the giants, were the ones that carried the torch of civilization, but even they had breathing problems later on, and these normal-sized humans were the ones that rebuilt civilization. But this is after several generations of just remembering the world before, not actually having direct evidence of it. The cataclysm must have been systemic. Absolutely total, complete reset.
Exactly.
So this is where I'm at with writing.
Well, it really fascinates me because obviously you know that my area of sort of expertise is obviously the Quranic text, and I'm not so much into all the sort of post-Mohammedan sort of literature and stuff. I'm not really into that. I'm really more about the source text, and according to the source text in the Quran, it does talk about how there were civilizations before we even existed that were so highly advanced that we can't even fathom the kind of technology that they had. And that's where I kind of was going with that, because I was thinking, right, so it's matriarchal, potentially there's, this highly advanced sort of, they were already realized almost as beings, I guess, because they were sort of, had that kind of advanced knowledge. But then it all obviously collapsed, like you said. So that's where I was kind of going with it. So thanks for that.
Yeah, that's all. And before we move on to the next person, I'll just for a little context, the patriarchy, the rise of the male back into prominence and importance is completely post-reset. It's exactly what you would find in a civilization that can no longer feed themselves, in a civilization that could never protect themselves, because now different areas of the empire that were at peace when everything was going right, when everything is not going right after the reset, now people are eating each other. People are fighting for resources. People are going to war over the few animals that are available for sustenance. So in that scenario, women will play a back role, because you're not going to hear anything politically correct from me. You already know this. And I'm just not. I'm not going to. Yeah, politically correct bullshit doesn't mean nothing to me in Archaics. When it comes to pure survival skills, men will always be on top. Men are stronger. Men are faster. Men are ruthless, and this is the way it has always been. So after a technologically advanced civilization totally collapsed and women lost their roles of preeminence in the patriarchal system that emerged, this is when the Greek records say that war was invented. This is when they say that weapon manufacturing was exempt. This is the first incidence of the building of walls around cities. Anybody who knows about the matriarchal cultures of Mohenjo-Daro in the Harappan Valley knows there's no fortifications in those cities. They didn't have, archaeologists have found no weaponry. Those people were very peaceful. They were very advanced. The whole city is nothing but baths and springs. These people live luxuriously, and then they fear no attack. So, but also there's a high concentrations of radiation that have been found in the skeletons that 50 times more radiation. We got women and children holding hands fused together like glass, like they saw their doom approaching. Whatever happened in the sky, and they were literally flash burned into the stone around them, and the skeletons were fused to the stone of Mohenjo-Daro. So that's a good question, Happy.
No, that's really cool, and I'll save the bonanza for you for when we speak. But it's interesting you mentioned Mohenjo-Daro, but I am actually in the middle of planning an expedition to another area where we think we have uncovered one of these civilizations. So,
oh yeah, man, that's good.
I'll tell you more about that when we speak later. But yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and exit you out, girl. I'll talk to you later. All right, Mr. Owino, you sir, need to be introduced to the Archaics community at large, because I've been hearing a lot of good about you. Mr. Owino reposts all my Twitter posts on Facebook. This is you, right? Yes, this But yeah, I really appreciate that. I don't have a lot of time to post anywhere but on Twitter. But other people have told me that whatever I put on Twitter, you're copying and pasting it and unleashing it on Facebook. So I appreciate that. Oh, we need your audio. Your audio's not on. I can hear
Am
you
I
now.
okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I love the information, and I am grateful too. I'm really grateful because I am really learning a lot. Like recently, I discovered 138 and 792 are really critical in accordance to pattern break in every human's life. So like
Yeah.
you mentioned yesterday, you mentioned that in a live yesterday. I think that the recent live that Prince Charles might be facing a pattern break, maybe death or something like that. And I noticed that his Nemesis X timeline for pattern break is very near. I think in around 20 days or so.
Okay. I really don't know much about the Prince Charles deal because I remember the conversation and it was somebody else in the video mentioned the Prince Charles as being maybe the focus of the astrology, showing that something very unusual or bad is going to happen this year. With that wasn't me. I'm not the one to mention that, but it was in my video.
Yeah. So I saw that, and it's kind of intriguing, because even the Trump assassination attempt was near his Nemesis X timeline too. Yes, assassination attempt on July 13th.
Okay, are you talking about July 13th?
Yeah, July 13th.
Okay, all right. So, I really don't know. Do you have a more direct question that I could answer?
Not really. I will stay in and listen.
So, what are you, Andrew? Are you in West Benin?
I am in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya.
You're in Kenya. Okay,
East Africa.
okay. No, okay, East Africa. All right. Yeah, I've got some people in West Benin I confer with too. I didn't know if you were in their community or not, but yeah, there's a lot of people in Africa that listen to Archaix. There's a lot of you. A lot more than I knew until recently.
Okay, that's great.
Did you get your package?
Yeah, I got my package and I got the T-shirt too. I think I'm wearing the shirt. I have the shirt.
Great.
Can you see?
Man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the academy too is great.
All right. Say later on, we'll send some more stuff out that way to Africa, man. I appreciate you joining us today. I'm going to move on to the next question.
Okay.
All right, Angel. Mike can wait. I know Mike. Mike's an inquisitive guy. I've met Mike a couple times. I've met Mike in person a couple times. So, what you got, Angel?
All right. So my question is, what is the exact formula that you use to detect the pattern? Remember when you wrote it out and you showed it to us a while back? You wrote the dates when you was in prison, and then you correlated it, and it made like a triangle coming down.
Right.
I didn't catch exactly what that formula was to try to and put it into my own life. So I was wanting to know what that was.
I'm gonna be as abbreviated as possible.
Okay.
So my calendrical studies, finding all these mathematical relationships, is only because we live in a construct. I did not begin my research that way. That was the conclusion after tens of thousands of calculations between historical events and finding these mathematical predicates and finding that they're attached to certain events that unfold that affect the collective, not the individuals. So this study was really intriguing, but the study itself didn't start that way. It started with the days of my life. I had no interest in looking at the mathematical relationships of world history until I had made a fundamental discovery about the days of a man's life and then how the events unfold in these beautiful mathematical patterns that have predictive value. And that there are times in your life when you can literally predict a series of events when you have taken no action and you just let the collective programming do its course. You can literally predict what's about to happen in your life based off past predicates. This is all I was showing.
Right.
Now, you can also alter your own series of events and pretty much predict when a future event is going to occur, as long as you are the one that set those events in motion and you have the exact dates that you can use to measure. So the system is very simple. I can't give you too much detail right now. What I can tell you is you measure the distance in time. It's a diurnal system between two events that are very similar in nature. We live in a structured reality. This reality has basically core fundamentals that we all agree to. As long as dogs are canines, as long as fire burns, and as long as you throw a brick in the sky, it's always going to come back down. That there are unbreakable constants. That means we do not live in chaos. We live in order. Chaos is perceived, but order is the reality. And as long as this is true, the arithmetic is going to follow. And as long as the arithmetic is going to follow, then that means anything that you've ever learned about past mathematical formulas that were true in the past would be equally true in the present, and they would have predictive value for the future. So under a diurnal system, which means the rotation of the sky, one turning of the sky, under that system of measurement where 1 equals 1 turning of the sky, that's the diurnal system. We call it day and night. The ancient Sumerians understood the system as well, and they called it the Shar system. They understood 100% the concept. My own Opus software is 100% based off the ancient understanding of the cosmology, how the sky works. Under this diurnal system, any two events in your life that were very similar can be used to predict a third one.
Okay.
A third event that was going to be very similar. And it was simply by measuring the distance between X1 and X2, those two events in your past, if you knew the exact dates, measuring that distance and then running it through those mathematical protocols that I was telling you about, which are all fractals of pi, phi, and curvature, 5.08. Now, it sounds fantastic. It sounds absolutely crazy, but my track record for predictions is very, very good. So I'm not advocating you spending hours and hours and hours of your life trying to figure the system out, because it is exhausting. It was exhausting to me as well. But I do show the arithmetic in that video. You can take numbers, it's 79 days, and you divide it by pi, 3.14, it's going to give you a different number. But that different number under the diurnal system projected in the future just might be the exact date when that happens again. So, but that's only one way. There's 14 different ways to divide and multiply 3.14, 1.16, and 5.08. There's 14 different ways to do this, because you wouldn't just divide them and multiply them, but you would also divide them. You would divide them by 2 and then multiply them by 3.14. You would always try to find the periphery of the circle in the arithmetic, because the periphery of the circle is actually a cycle. In the ancient mindset, and even in the vernacular, even in the words themselves, there is, in most civilizations, there is no difference in the word. Cycle and circle were the exact same word. So this is something you're going to have to email me about. It's not something I'm just broadcast out there. You know this is a part of a software program. It's
Right.
I don't mind answering.
I do have a lot of similar things that have happened before, and I'm like, okay, yes, I see the cycle, I see the pattern, and I wanted to be able to, say, okay, this is what's coming next, or alter it, like you said, go ahead and flip the script.
Check this out. When you're using that system to change events in the future because you don't like your present circumstances, I actually advocate that. Instead of just doing predictions, which is where the natural construct is flowing, screw that. If you want a different outcome, you can use the system absolutely to know the exact dates in the future when nature is moving with you. Because what the system does is actually produces 14 to 15 dates in the future. Those dates in the future actually remove the thousands of other dates in the future that are nothing but what are considered norms. They're just in the way. They are not geometrically or mathematically connected in any way to the controls, X1, X2, X3, X4, whatever date you're measuring in the past. Therefore, it's like using arithmetic to identify the coordinates in the future when it's your day to act. And you know this innately. Inside, internally, you know that many times the heart is willing, the mind is willing, but nature is not. And no matter what you do for a 14, 15-day period, it seems like, damn, no matter your energy output doesn't matter. If the construct's not ready to yield on something, you're not going to do anything. But then there are other days when you wake up in the morning and with little effort, you do prodigious amounts of material. In 1 day's time before noon, you've already done more than you've done in the past 2 weeks. And it's not because you're putting out more energy. It's because nature's now moving for you. This happens to people all the time. They go to Vegas on the exact same day. It's just so fortuitous that nature's moving with them. They can't do anything wrong. You know, this is why pattern break is so important, because when our lives get mired down in mathematics and the arithmetic begins to solidify into circumstances that we're not liking, because I've been through it recently. When that happens, pattern break is absolutely necessary because it scrambles the arithmetic. And while it's in flux, while it's in flu, that's when you need to determine what you want to do. The solidification of the arithmetic that governs your life needs to be reassembled by you with intent. And yeah, you need to email me about that, because I'm not really willing to give algorithms away over the line over the
Okay, awesome, thank you.
And I would have a couple people mad at me too if I did. All right, Angel, I'm gonna move over to Mike.
All right, thanks.
Good meeting you. And this is our first group, guys. We got several more people coming in. I'll talk to you later, Angel.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, Mike.
What's going on, brother?
So you came to the Houston meetup from Oklahoma with your wife on the last Houston meetup?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Did you come?
Is my
You came
audio
to 2 of them.
Is my audio?
Did you
Can
come
you
to
hear me?
2 of them? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I came to 2 of them, but what you forgot is in Asheville, I'm Billy Carson, and you were supposed to debate me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's right. I knew we met twice. As soon as I see you pop up, I'm like, oh man, I don't remember him.
Hey, yeah. No,
I remember your
get you
story
for
and
that.
everything.
You gonna come up on me talking about, hey, Billy Carson?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, man. You do kind of favor.
man, you know. All right, I'm gonna let that one slide.
All right.
Hey,
Hey.
but so I have a question, but before I ask that question, I wanted to ask something about the woman that was that you spoke to initially when she was talking about the matriarchal.
Affy.
Yeah. So, because I really have some thoughts about that, and
Right.
a lot of it is like so. In the first time that we went to your meetup, I talked to you about how, like, in the Native American culture, which, you know, we're Native American. I'm Choctaw actually, but you know, just because of the color of my skin, we got it turned into something where we were what they call paper genocide, where if you were that darker skin, then you were no longer part of the Indian nation, but a slave. But what I want to go back to on what she was talking about was about this. You can really see a lot of signature in the fact that the matriarchy is the power of the matriarchy is in the wisdom of women. You know what I'm saying? In terms of when you look in, say, wisdom is always described as a woman, right? And
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and every and I mean, I'm not well versed like you are in all these different cultures and stuff like that, but seems like anytime wisdom is brought up, it's feminine, the feminine aspect, and what
Like
I
Sophia.
call it, and I say what I describe it as the feminine nature of the divine, you know, um, and so. It looks like when the feminine was taken away from that position of we say authority and power or rulership, but it seems more like it was almost like there was no need for warfare because everything that in existence was symbiotic. Everything worked together to create life and to cultivate life rather than to as kill, steal, and destroy, or might makes right type situation. And that was just that was just a thought I had about that. But it's a signature to me. It seems like there's a signature of the wisdom of women that allows for rulership. And I was just wondering, what did you think about that in terms of your chronology?
Well, I know guys are impulsive, guys are hot-headed, guys are let's get this shit done now so we can rest tomorrow type mentalities. I mean, I know you're ex-military and
Oh
I'm an
yeah,
ex-con. I'm an ex-con, and in those environments, we come into
yeah,
contact with situations all the time that have to be dealt with right then and there. We don't have time to think. We don't have time to talk to somebody else about it. We have to go straight into problem-solving mode. And
yeah,
a lot of times, our solved problem is pretty permanent. We don't have a lot of that restraint when something needs
yeah,
to be done right there at the moment. Women are they do tend to use their head more, and it's for good reason. It's because they've never been combative like we are. It's there's exceptions to every rule. That's what makes a rule so powerful. Are the exceptions, such as we do have the traditions of the Amazons, very warlike, a very warlike female tribe. Now, were they historical? I don't know. I don't know, but some people have done some pretty compelling research to say they are. But then again, an exception never overpowers the rule. That's why it's an exception. So ordinarily, men are the more physical. Women have been more intuitive. I'm also on board. Can't say this with authority, but I'm on board with the idea that a high pressurized environment like the vapor canopy under an ultraviolet sky would have given females, because of hormonal changes, would have been given females probably some type of heightened acuity, or we lost Mike, but some type of heightened acuity, or maybe I don't know. There could have been some type of enhanced ability, emotions, empathy, intuition, maybe even paranormal. I don't know. These are the things I really speculate on, but we do know that great changes come to the human family. We know this in vapor canopy environments. And if people are healing gashes in minutes, if scrapes in seconds, if people are healing and able to hold their breath for long periods of time and to go under deep, I'm talking about deep pressure environments and pull out clams and do oysters and pearl hunting, because we know they did, because archaeologists have found the shell middens. So we know we can't do it today, but they were doing it in ancient times. So to your question, I think we lost Mike, but that's okay. That's okay. I know I'm going to see Mike again at another meetup. Yeah, it's he's out there in Oklahoma somewhere. Probably bad Wi-Fi. Yeah, there may have been a misunderstanding on time zone or something, but we started this video at 2:05, and my guest still hadn't showed up. So I talked for about 10, 12 minutes, and he still wasn't in the studio. So we went ahead and started doing this just freestyle live. For those of you who are joining us now, believe me, Mark is more than welcome. Well, we can reschedule, do a whole nother video again. I'm sorry it happened, but I don't know what happened. Let me go and look back at that email and see who's champing at the bit to get in here. try to see. Oh, we got some emails in here. We got some people in here. Let's see this. All right. I'm sending these invite links out to 6 more people, 5 more people. Getting them in there. That's 2 people. I know who some of you are because your pictures are on your email accounts. All right, if you would please check your emails. I've got 5 more people. And that should be it right there. I just sent the last one. This is the next group, but it's not the last. It's not the last. Let me see who's popping in. All right. Yeah, check your emails, guys, because I just sent 5 or 6 more email invites. Let's see. Yeah, Chris Proc, all that's already been worked out. What you're asking is something that was worked out 4 years ago. Let's see. All right. So there must be a little bit of a delay by the time I send the invites out on the emails. Must be a little delay. I might send some more. I'm not seeing people pop in. I got a lot of people trying to get in, so I'm gonna send more invites out. People aren't checking their emails. Let's see. I got a list here, so I'll just keep popping them out. Let's see. Oh, there's old Graybeard. Oh, you're not asking to come in. You're trying to send me a screenshot. Trying to send me a screenshot. All right, sending more out. That's a hell of a handle there, man. I can't even pronounce that. Can't even pronounce that. All right, I just sent 5 more out. We'll go through them as soon as people start. All right. Okay, we got some people popping in. I don't know who you are, kitty, but I want it kitty meow meow. But you got an invite. Watch everybody hit me up at the same time. I'll be overwhelmed. Oh, I seen Jeff Bailey pop up. Go ahead and send him one. There'll be more people popping in. That'll be enough for now. I just sent like 14 of them out. All right. All right. So who we got here? We got a Sandra D. Joe, I'm going to turn off your mic real quick. I got it. Sandra D, how you doing?
What's up, Jason? Doing well. Thanks, man.
I'm great. I'm great.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for all you do. I popped in to say hello to everybody and to thank you for all this, information that you've been sharing with us. We understand how much time and effort, you put into everything. And with the information that we have, I know I can speak for myself. It's so easy to decipher now the BS from the things that could fall into, your work. And it's so easy to, by process of elimination, all the BS just kind of goes out the door. So,
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about is eliminating all the bad information to see what's left.
that's right, man. So I hope to see, you in the near future, just getting all these lying fake academics, off of center stage, man. They don't belong there. They didn't do the work to get there. And the work that they're giving us is very, very easily debunked. Just like how you've been doing, man. Keep up the good work. We got your back. Just wanted to do this pattern break. I start my new job next week. Things are
Oh,
going
hell yeah.
well.
Hell yeah. Listen. So you don't really have a question. So I'm going to take the opportunity because I know other people need to hear this listening. So, you're about to start a new job. Okay. Your mind is going to be on, what you need to do. Here's a new environment, all that. But I'm going to tell you now what's going on in the hollow field around you.
Yeah.
Everything around you is going to be hyper vigilant. I'm hearing a lot of. Is there a radio on?
No, that's my AC. Let me turn it off. I got my
Oh, okay.
dogs in the house, so I had to
No,
turn it off.
no. It's okay. I can turn your microphone off to make my statement. No
No, it's
problem.
okay. No, it's
Okay.
okay.
So
I want to be able to stay on the line with you.
check right now. What's about to happen, Sandra, is the day that you go into your new work. From the time you get up and the time and you start experiencing everything throughout the day, I'm telling you now, this is the time in your life when you can set a whole lot. It's a pattern break. This is when you can set a whole lot of stuff. So yeah, that's no matter what you're doing, we can hear that AC is very loud. But
No, I turned them off.
that's something else.
I turned them
Is,
off.
oh no, my bad. No, my bad. I don't have everybody's mics off. That's my problem.
Oh, okay.
So listen.
Yeah, I did this job before. I worked at the airport before, just with a different company. And I was tired of my
still a pattern
company.
break.
They were just, they were doing things the wrong way, and there was just crazy stuff happening. So I quit before I found a new job. I was like, man, F this. I can't even deal with this anymore, just I'm in Chicago. People got a different mindset, political stance, everything. And everything was just mushed up, And I decided to apply from Envoy. I used to work at Envoy, which is a sister company of American Airlines. We're like a third party. And I'm like, man, I got to get on the main line. I got to get with United or Delta or somebody like that. And decided to go ahead and apply. I applied. I got a, interview. I passed the interview. Boom! I'm already certified. I already took the, exam and everything. It's twice a year, so they see that in the system. And I got hired like this, man. I start on the 20th. They got their own little training, but it's a paid 2-week training. And
Look, I'm
I'm
gonna tell you
excited
this.
for it, man.
I'm already listening to you, Sandra. I'm already hearing something. You need to listen. Okay. If you go into this with the idea that this is no different than what you experienced before, then whatever experiences that you had before, that feedback is terrible. That feedback, I gotta turn your mic off. Yeah. Listen, whatever you go into, if you're going into this new experience with the same expectations of experiencing what you experienced before, that is going to get knit for you so fast in your reality because you're just going to enter a feedback loop. You're trying to avoid a feedback loop. This new pattern break is going to be new people. It's going to be new architecture, which means new geometry, which means new arithmetic all around you. This is all what is known as potentia. In the field of potentia, when you're the loose cannon, you're literally building a world. This is your moment. That first day you go back to work, your attitude that day is going to knit for you a whole series of events. That's all I wanted to tell you about that. So,
Feedback, man. I really, really do. And I started writing down, I check out other information as well. Of course, you're my go-to. You have been one of the most important teachers in my life. So thank you again.
appreciate that.
Like I said, I started manifesting my own life. I said that I'm going to be, one of the best ramp agents that they've ever seen there. Okay. I love doing the job itself, so it's going to be very easy for me to kind of get back in tune with the physical side of the job.
Right.
All physical labor. It's pretty difficult. It's about 70% men, and then, the rest, maybe 80-20. I want to say maybe
Right.
80% male and 20% female. But, we're strong. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I still practice Krav Maga. So I've been a martial artist my whole life and now recreationally. So, yeah, man, things have been going great. It was a stagnant couple of years after COVID. I was a nurse prior to me looking for a new career, but because I didn't want to go through with what they were pushing me to go through with, they, revoked my license. So I was
Well, look,
stuck.
I'm gonna have to stop you, Sandra, so I can get to everybody else. But you have a focus. You have a definitive date. These are coordinates. You just told me a day is coming that you want to prepare for. I'm telling you now. Everything after that point is going to be dependent on what you do and how you feel that day. That day.
Copy
That's what
that.
you do. I gotta go on to Joe, Sandra.
Thanks.
I'll holler at you later.
All right, man.
All right, Joe. Let me turn your microphone off. There you go.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Perfectly. You got good audio.
All right, cool. Hello. Jason, thanks for everything. Met you in San Diego. Had you sign a couple copies of Immortal Within for some friends and just always appreciate it.
You look familiar.
Yeah, thank you. My question is, I was taking notes. I was looking for this piece of wood I was writing on. I'm in the shop, but you were talking about the time frame from 2178 back to 2389. Is that right? I was looking for my notes.
You're talking about 3895?
3895 BC
Yeah.
to 2178 right now. And I know there's the 1 year overlap, and you were saying that that's not the beginning necessarily, but is that the Adam and Eve reset, or like I'm just looking at that whole time loop
Okay,
in San Diego? Yeah.
So here's what we have. We have, like, the book of Genesis begins with the Adam and Eve deal. When you break down all the core fundamentals, you realize, holy shit, this is not a creation event. This is literally talking about a systemic reset so terrible that the people were naked, and later religionists turned it into purity and the fall of man and all that. But we're talking about a cataclysm. We're talking about paradise lost. Eden is gone. This is what the story really entails. Now, it wasn't my dating. It was biblical chronologist Stephen Jones, and then using the back calculations from Immanuel Velikovsky's work, Rashi 1,000 years ago. I can't remember. I've listed them all on Archaix, but there's a whole bunch of sources, and they all reveal that year one of the ancient world's calendar was 3895 BC, which started the 1656 years of the pre-flood world. So from 3895 BC being year one, we find out that 2178, the immortal looping year, the reset year, the cycle year, when everything just flips back to year zero, is 2178. And yet, every single Phoenix phenomenon episode in history is on a 138-year timeline that links 3895 BC plus 138, 138, 138, 138. You hit that 1656, which is 2239 BC, the Great Flood, vapor canopy collapse, days of Noah. Then 138, 138, 138, 138, the Ogaigian deluge, 1687 BC, the year 2208 of the Old World's calendar, Anno Mundi, which is in 138-year intervals from year one, which was 3895 BC. Keep going, 138, 138, 138, 138, you hit 1411. The great Exodus cataclysm, the 10 plagues, the sun darkening over Canaan, and the Israelites fighting the Canaanites and using the advantage of stones falling from the sky. We have 1273 BC, which is on the 138. We have the house of Atreus. It now rises because he's able to predict that the sun is going to darken, and he's awarded the kingship over his brother, who was a warrior. So 138 years later, we have 1135 BC, the Great Mediterranean Dark Age begins, when the Phoenix completely ends the reign of one pharaoh, and the last thing that pharaoh ever published was that the world was literally falling apart. And then the next pharaoh's reign begins with him introducing how he had to rebuild Egypt, and then the Tuatha Dé. Well, anyway, 138, 138, 138, all the way to 2040. All the way to 2040, which is 138 years to 2178. This is the loop of history. This is the construct. Events prior to 3895 BC are very anomalous to me because we have them in the traditions. We just don't have them in the archaeology. We don't have them in there's no verification of these events in 4309 BC. The Anuna timeline began 5239 BC. It's all in traditions, this 600-year period. It's like background programming. It's like our world's history was superimposed over a template of historical events from a different epoch, a different timeline. And it's almost as if history is a reusable fabric, and that we're on multiple loops, and that there are programming fossils that we keep finding, and we keep thinking the things that we're finding were a part of the timeline we're on it or not. So I don't know if that answered your question, but 3895 BC is year one in the programming. 2178 is a reset. It's when we go back to 00.
Right. Yeah, I've been following you for a while, and I think the first talk I ever heard, you dropped the 3895 number, and I was like, how did this guy come to that? So I've been listening for a few years, and in San Diego, your presentation, you talked about we're in 5918, is that right? 58?
Yeah. 2024 is 5918 Anno Mundi. Yes.
Right. So I guess kind of my question is, I've just been trying to wrap my head around is like, I know it's different from the 6,000-year cycle, but just so in your paradigm currently, it would be like that's the alpha omega from 3895 to 2178, and then that's the course of history that we can perceive and measure.
That's the programming. That's all I found. Prior to 3895 BC it's almost as if it's just background programming, because there's nothing really in history archaeology to find. And so
right.
We have, these resets are really interesting to me because they're also documented in the archaeology. I mean, we have to put each individual discovery from Archaics into its proper context. When did it happen that the crickets, ladybugs, grasshoppers, bumblebees, dragonflies, cockroaches, doodlebugs, everything that I showed in my video on the Medusa effect, hundreds of fossils I showed you guys. Animals with their hackles up in the middle of fighting each other, fish swallowing fish, fish giving birth to other fish, animals in the middle of tearing into each other, all flash frozen. And yet every single one of those life forms exists today in our backyards. Other fossils I showed were jellyfish, crinoids, oysters and clams, things that are deep sea, and yet they were flash frozen. We know this because the shells were closed. Whole clam beds and oyster beds, shells fossilized, closed. It's impossible. When they die, the muscles relax and the shells open. This is why we find seashell, half shells everywhere. But that's not what we found in the petrification record. All these flash frozen life organisms happen because of a systemic reset. How do we know that it was systemic? Because there were at the top life forms in the mountains and life forms on the bottom of the ocean, all flash froze. And yet the common denominator is that right here in Texas, I can go dig up, play in the backyard, do all kinds, and I'm going to find a whole bunch of these life forms that are in the fossil record. Absolutely zero changes. So to me, it tells me I'm looking at when the last reset happened that sent us back to 0, because the entire construct flash froze. System reset, reboots. There's no evolution. There's no development. It's programming. These things just appear. It's like Ivar Zap published in the 1960s. There's more evidence that human populations were suddenly just set down with memories intact than there is any evidence of any type of natural selection or evolutionary development. These are scientists that were baffled by looking at the actual record, divorcing themselves from the programming of uniformitarianism. Just looking at the facts, their core conclusion was it just looks like populations are just put here and nothing else makes sense. And to me, it makes sense if everything is programming, and that these 2178 is going to be the next time everything's flash frozen. And that we've lived this before is evidence to me in the fact that every one of these petrified fossils that I showed, hundreds of them in that video, are alive today. Therefore, when we're looking at the evidence from the construct of fossilized programming, we're literally looking at a blueprint of the future, which has already happened in the past. We are not on a linear projection. We're in a cycle.
Yep, that all makes sense. I appreciate it. I just did the quick math with the year added for 0. It's 6,074. Does that line up with you? Do you have any final comments on that?
Are you asking about the very confusing to people until they see it? Are you asking me about the artificial construct of BC and AD being added together and how the Anno Mundi calendar actually corrects that?
Well, you had mentioned that you add 1 year for year 0. Is that right? If you add BC and AD?
Yes. The reason is because the Anno Mundi calendar is unbroken. And it's, you know what? Let me look at my desktop real quick, and I will show you real quick. It's better to see it than listen to it from me. So let's go with I got so many files. I wasn't prepared to ongoing projects. So let's go to Chrono. Let's just go to Chronicon. Chronicon is the best place to see it. Let's just go to Chronicon. And I've got so many files here. That's the best way to look at here. It is Chronicon and notes. So let me just open up a Chronicon version. Oh my God. I have Academy. There it is, Academy files. All right. Oh my God. If I'd have known I was going to need Chronicon, I'd have had it on my desktop. I had so many files, I don't even know where to find it. Archaix Publishing. There it is, Chronicon. All right. We'll go to an easy to open version of Chronicon. Let's go to a PDF version here. Let's see here. Oh my God. So, all right, here's a PDF version. I have a little chart. Let me go find it real quick. I'm gonna scroll down before I share my screen. I'm gonna find it. Go straight to it. Go straight to it. Let's see. Sorry it's taking so long. I wasn't prepared to do this.
I've been wondering that for a while. Yeah.
It's really easy to see in Chronicon though how the Anno Mundi calendar actually corrects, because the BC the Anno Domini calendar is an imposition. It didn't exist. It was created 526 years after year 1 AD, which is its backdate. It's backdated 526 years. A lot of people don't know that. The AD calendar is new. And then it took another 3.5 centuries for the rest of Europe to start using it. Man, Chronicon is huge. I'm still scrolling down to it. All right, still scrolling down. Where am I? Oh, I just saw a reference to Josephus, so I must be almost there. 25 BC, Strabo. I'm almost there. All right. Let's see what we got here. This is, oh, crucifixion. I went too far. Yeah, I went a little too far. So let me back up. Ah, found it. Just like that. So what I'm going to do is check out of there. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Show everybody what he's talking about, what he's asking about. All right. It's going to look funny for a second. There we go. This is what he's talking about. Oh, man. A touchscreen acts so funny. Maybe I should just use the tools at the bottom, the little magnifying glass instead of touching it. And all I had to do was touch it and it moved me. So let me just go back to the original page. Guys, Chronicon is huge. It's a lot. All right. There's the chart. There's the chart. Let me blow it up. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay. This is exactly how the chronology works. The Anno Mundi calendar in 4 BC, it was the year 3891. I'm going to blow it up one more time.
Yep.
4 BC was 3891. It's real simple to go 3892, 3893, 3894, 3895. It's real simple. You can do it on a chart and go all the way, and it's an unbroken timeline. But there was never a year zero. There's never a year zero when they created this. Well, the original creators just went from AD 1 to BC 1. Mm-hmm. This is I've seen in Christian commentaries and Christian Bibles, they'll literally put 2 years between these, and sometimes they'll just take away one of those years. They'll take away BC 1, or they'll take away AD 1 and claim that they were the same year when they were not. They were not at all. But this is how it works. And if you use a calculator like I do, you're going to find that using the Anno Mundi system, you're going to find all these amazing mathematical counterparts. You're going to find out that the Anno Domini system, which was created 526 years after its inception date of 1 AD, you're going to find out that it was designed that way, because this is a construct, and there's all kinds of beautiful patterns that show up in there. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy how all this just lines up so perfectly. Look at this is 1 AD, 1 CE. A lot of people don't know this. This is the year, and I wonder if they started it because of this. But this was the year that Roman Emperor Augustus ordered the destruction of over 2,000 volumes of the Greek prophecies. Remember, the New Testament, all the original books, even the Old Testament, the Greek Septuagint was the only one Jesus and the apostles ever quoted. It was the only one that's even quoted in the original church fathers' books. It was only later that a Latin Vulgate, it was only later that a Hebrew manuscript surfaced. The originals, everything was in the Greek. 1 AD, the beginning of the calendar, was the total destruction of the Greek prophecies. But we did have Cerinthus, who preserved some of those prophecies, and you have them now. It's called the Book of Revelation. Let me get out of there. Yeah, that's
So it's a 6,072 year loop, or 6,073, or I'm just trying to. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I can tell you right now. Hold on. You're talking about between.
Yeah. Start the full loop. Yep.
Oh, whatever it is, it's going to be divisible by 138.
Right.
Because 3895 BC is on the 138 timeline. 2178 is on the 138 time. It's 138 years after 24. So let's see. Man, I got way too many apps. How can I not find a simple calendar app? I mean, a calculator. How can I not find a calculator? Here we go. Let's see. 6072 is precisely divisible by 138. That's your number. 6,072 years.
Thank you. You know how many cycles that is? Just out of curiosity, I could look it up.
It's 44.
44 cycles.
It's exactly 44. 11 times 4.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll sign out, but thank you for taking the time, and God bless.
Hey, man. Appreciate it.
Peace.
All right. All right, Joe. So I'm gonna go straight to Kitty, and then I'm gonna go to AP. Jeff, you gotta wait for last, man. I know you're a patient man. Let's see. How you doing, Kitty?
I'm good. How are you, Jason?
I'm pretty good.
To say you've made a huge impact in my life.
Thank you.
And I'm a recent Archaics Academy, the master's program. Wondering if you have any tips on getting started with that. I just got a big package from Dawn, and I'm like, okay, where to begin?
Okay, well, Archaics Academy was supposed to unroll a whole lot faster, but I got hit with like major things in my life back to back to back. The next 20 courses are about to drop. So, but you're asking me about the initial 20 courses. It's a lot of material. Excuse me, it's a lot of material, and you will be testing on it. The first 20 courses come with a test, and I'm also going to be doing a video for those who have already completed the first 20 courses. We'll be doing a video answering questions and all that. But you can start where you want to start. It's not necessary to go in chronological order. I mean, it's just like Archaics. I mean, there's 800 videos, but where do you start? That entirely depends on what your interests are. Always try to work your way into it. I wouldn't start with the Phoenix phenomenon. I would start with, like, if you came to my channel, I would tell people, you know what, the podcasts, because the podcasts actually hit a wide diversity of topics, and you never know what direction we're going to go. Sometimes it's archaeology, sometimes it's numismatics, sometimes we're talking about calendrics. Sometimes we're talking about things that we're opinionating. Sometimes you're hearing me rant about Billy Carson. You never know what's going to happen in a podcast, but it's where you get access to a wide variety of information that shows you the gamut of Archaics, pretty much everything that we're talking about. But with Archaics Academy, listen, I'm going to tell you, you bit off a lot. I warned people about the information. It's not like my YouTube videos. Each one of those courses is packed with data. And I want people to be able to say, hey, man, I want them to stop saying, hey, shoot, debate Jason on it. Or, hey, check this out. I'm looking for people who go through the courses and then turn around and tell people like Billy Carson, shoot, well, like, you don't want to debate Jason? Fine. I said, I have all the data. Won't you invite me onto your show and let's hash this out? Because that's what it's leading to. There's a lot of people who are offended by me for whatever reason, and they don't want to come to the table, and that's cool. So it is my intent to educate an entire body politic of people who will do that for me. I don't need to do it. I don't need to do that at all. All I want to do is sit back with my popcorn and watch people who have been educated by Archaics go out there and dice these people who think they're experts. That's what I want to do. I want to kick back and laugh about it.
From the beginning of me watching you, that's exactly what you've said. And so I figured I'd bite off that chunk. I got the full, I got everything, I think. I've got the Archaics library drive, the new Phoenix phenomenon, and the masters. Then I saw you put out the color drives, and I just wondered if I was missing anything there, but I can probably email Dawn on that.
Okay, well, it's I don't want to turn this into an advertisement. I'm going to simplify it for you. Okay. There's two different types of orders here. You have people that have general interest and they want certain subject matter. So they want the library drive, which has now 9,600 PDFs of old books. It's more books than you'll ever read in your life. Some people want to preserve it for the children, their grandchildren. They want to put it in their safe for whatever reason. Other people want to check out and see what kind of books I have in my library. So others want the old photos material. Now it's up to 36, 37, or 38,000 images from the Archaics library and other images that we found that are profound. A lot of them I've never even had a chance to put on YouTube yet. So some people want the super pack and the survival pack combo because it's a lot of the first 3.5 years of the Archaics channel and everything I ever put on Facebook and on YouTube. It's a record of that. So it all depends on what you want. And then there are other people who are sending us 4 terabyte drives. And the 4 terabyte drive, you never need to order any other drive because the 4 terabyte drive is we're literally plugging it up to the Archaics database and we're just downloading everything, even the things that are not on the 5 drives. We're just giving you everything. So this, yeah, we charge for that because Big John has to be paid and he's taking the time to do all this. And yes, it's exhausting. There's no way to take 4 terabytes which has over 1,000 videos, all the Archaics TV videos, and do that quickly, and 50,000 PDFs, and over 60,000 images, and 560 articles and posts, and all. It's just no way to do it fast. It takes a while. So I don't know what all you have, but that's the difference. The 5 drives or the terabyte drive just takes care of everything.
I think I've got the terabyte drive. So thank you for that. And when I'm ready to, I'll buckle up and dive in. The other thing I just wanted you to touch on, if you wouldn't mind, is where you were at when you wrote Awaken the Immortal Within.
I wrote it in prison.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was originally it had a different title, but my publisher had changed it. He didn't like, I forgot the secret to changing your life was actually written in prison. And it was I had written it right after a most profound experience because I had already given up my life to just knowledge and learning everything I could. And I realized, okay, you know what? These people here aren't going to play ball, and I'm hard-headed. And when I realized, okay, this is all about working manufacturing and logistics. This is all about just slave labor. You're just going to keep me working in a factory and deny me parole. I was denied parole 6 times. So you're just going to keep denying me for parole no matter what my behavior is. It doesn't even matter. So I basically told the parole board, I don't even want to say that now because it's pretty vulgar. But I told the parole board exactly what I felt about them. And they instantly paroled me. It shocked the hell out of me. I totally did the exact opposite, just like my channel. I totally did the exact opposite of all YouTube video advice. Don't do long form content because nobody's going to watch. They're not going to retain. No one's going to watch it. And it's going to hurt you. If you do 3-hour videos and they only watch 15 to 30 minutes, the analytics are going to hurt you and YouTube's going to bury your channel. And no one's going to come in contact with it. I did the opposite. Always take advertisers, always do products because YouTube will funnel more activity toward your channel if they know you're advertising. So I broke all the rules and my channel exploded, just like the parole board. When you're living in what you want to do and you have a definitive goal of what it is, the rules of the construct do not apply. And when this happened to me, when Jose Alceda, that's his name, I have a long history with that guy. He is a commissioner on the Texas Parole Board. When Jose Alceda came to maximum security, closed custody, bottom of the barrel, and said, Jason, hey man, you know what is it going to take? I mean, you've been here since you're a kid. What do we got to do to get you out of here, man? He said, what do you got? And I told him straight up, I says, I quit trying that. I'm done playing y'all's games. I'm doing me now. I like closed custody. I like the dungeon. I like being down here because I get to write. And right now I'm in the middle of writing my Phaelorn saga. I'm writing a whole 7-book fantasy series, and I don't need all that drama and population. I'll stay right here. And they couldn't believe it because this is where all the violence is. This is where everything happens in maximum security, closed custody. But I was comfortable there because I'm doing me. I'm reading books, trading, doing what I want to do. I broke all the rules and went home anyway. So this was very eye-opening to me. And before I was released from prison, in that period between parole and release, I wrote Awaken the Immortal Within, and it didn't get published while I was in prison. I had 4 books published while I was in prison by Booktree. It didn't get published while I was in prison because I was released faster than I could even submit it to my publisher.
It's a beautiful book.
I appreciate it. All right, Kitty, I'm going to move on to the next one. I know AP's been waiting. Hey, with Archaics Academy, I'm just telling you now, with anything you endeavor to do in life that may be difficult, I'm telling you, just start with the first one. Give yourself 2 or 3 days for each one. After 2 months, those 20 will be out the way. And you're going to be an expert on the material that's in there. Simple as that. Because you also got the drives. So you'll get to see all the imagery and the videos that go with it. Yeah, after doing Archaics Academy and coming back and watching the videos on YouTube, you're going to have mind explosion. You're going to get it all. You're going to be able to retain the data the same way I do, pulling it from the field. Because remember, we don't memorize anything. That's bullshit. That's an old bullshit model. All right, Kitty. All right, AP. Let me get your microphone off.
Can everybody hear me?
Man, you got good audio.
Okay. So my YouTube persona is Archaeopotamus gigantus. It's the vapor canopy hippopotamus it's gigantic. I have one quick question, and then I have a main question because I'm from Virginia Beach and I'm a huge Edgar Cayce fan. And the week before our meetup in Virginia Beach is the Ancient Mysteries Conference, where they have speakers, a lot of who they're not on the same page with the timeline as they should be. But that's Virginia Beach is going to be off the hook, man. That's going on the week before, and the Neptune Festival that's going on. So it's going to be jamming.
I didn't even know all that.
Yeah, and you're where it's being held at is a super nice place right within walking distance to the ocean front, and there's going to be mobs of people, man. There always is. But anyway, my question was: is the Septuagint? Obviously, that's a septenary. It's a 7 number, correct? Is it the 7 books of the?
No, the Septuagint. Yeah, the Septuagint. The name Septuagint comes from the tradition of the origin of the text, which is total BS. It's a Jewish fiction, but allegedly it was 72 Jewish scholars who also knew Greek were given 72 different rooms at the Alexandrian Library, and under Pharaoh Ptolemy IV, I believe. These are the Greek Ptolemies of northern Egypt. These 72 Jewish scholars translated the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, into the Greek Septuagint. The problem is the historical record does not find any evidence of this. Neither does the textual record. Neither do the church fathers know anything about an original Hebrew. Everybody quoted from the Greek Septuagint. The New Testament was Greek. All the apostles and Jesus quoted from the Greek Septuagint, not from a later Hebrew Masoretic text, which only appeared in the historical record after. There seems to be a major hijacking in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th century AD. A major hijacking where the Jews imposed themselves on a massive amount of world history for which they were not participants, but they literally rewrote many records to act like they did. They even rewrote almost the entire Old Testament ex post facto, making it look like, I'll give you an example. Even textual scholars, academics who have gone through the old prophetic material in the Old Testament, it's not even a mystery to them because they realize, these texts are pseudo dates, meaning they are dated to a time in the past, but the text itself wasn't written then. So to claim that Daniel the prophet actually prophesied these things is ridiculous when the actual text is dated 400 years after the predicted events. This is what they did over and over and over. This is why scholars have separated so many texts, call them pseudepigraphical, call them apocryphal, and removed them from the canon. Is because it's easy to show that many of these fulfilled prophecies weren't fulfilled prophecies at all. The origins of the text themselves are centuries after the events they depict. Like I told you guys in many presentations and showed you the actual books that talk about these things, almost the entire history of the world is just an ex post facto composition. So it's really easy to make it look like prophecies are being fulfilled when they're not. They're not at all. So this, man, I just entertained a tangent. I don't even know if I answered your question.
Yeah, that was good. Thank goodness for the Dead Sea Scrolls, right, and the other prophecies, the books that come to light after the fact that they can't really. That helps us date. All right. Well, that leads me to my main question. And again, I'm a big time Edgar Cayce fan, and so how can you explain for everybody, or me especially, how Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce and Mother Shipton's prophecies all seem to be merging now?
Okay, let me address Edgar Cayce. All right, I need to address Edgar Cayce because, first of all, I'm going to tell you with the utmost confidence that Edgar Cayce at some points of his life was reading from the field, just like Nostradamus had access to libraries from authors who were reading from the field. Mother Shipton was tapped into the field, illiterate, couldn't write, and yet nailed. All three of them nailed dates. All three of them nailed phenomena. They all correlate. Edgar Cayce knew about the Great Pyramid, knew exactly that its function was holographic. He understood the importance of the year 1998, just like Nostradamus, who mentioned the same year, and even mentioned that it was like a pool of water. Ripples going forward and backward in time. And this is his answer when he was asked, how do you predict future events? He told him a pool of water. And the only thing a pool of water, the only characteristic that is unique about a pool of water are ripples. Ripples going forward and backward from an epicentral point. Now, with Edgar Cayce, the reason I have become a critic, and yet being a critic, I still find value in a lot of Edgar Cayce, is because I believe that his work was hijacked. And what I mean is initially he was a healer. Initially he could diagnose anything and tell people exactly what they needed to do. Initially, this was the deal. Then in these hypnosis sessions, it seems to me, because he went into predictions about Cuba and earthquakes and nuclear war, and now it was as if the field was being affected by somebody who was feeding him information while he was under hypnosis, knowing that under hypnosis at a future event, that same information would be fished out. You understand? I don't even think Edgar Cayce knew that he was being used by somebody in the Edgar Cayce Foundation in the beginning. Because when he goes under hypnosis, he has no memory of anything. He became genius level at diagnosing deals, but he was only in the medical practice. He was only doing diagnosis and prognosis of people's problems.
Yeah.
But once he became famous at that, he started undergoing hypnosis. But we have no chain of custody, meaning we don't know who all was attending, how many times he was put under hypnosis. We don't even know if somebody, because this is what I believe somebody from the Golden Dawn Society got in his inner circle and then fed him a bunch of Helena Blavatsky material, because he cites it with no evidence whatsoever. And I know Atlantis wasn't 9,500 BC. And this is one of the things he said. So I believe he got hijacked. I believe he's genuine. He's the real McCoy. He was really doing this. His special branch of prognosis came out in the Phoenix year of 1902, when major edits of our reality happened. I believe he's the real deal, and I believe because it's the real deal, somebody took advantage of that and put some bullshit in the field.
Yeah, if that's the case, I mean, I'm just ashamed to hear that. Ashamed for humanity that would do something like that. But I invite everybody, if they come to Virginia Beach, to go down to the ARE. It's right on Pacific Avenue, the oceanfront. It's 5 minutes from the meetup, and you can do a tour of it, and you can check out all of his books and all that. I mean,
Listen, I didn't even know that, but I'm going to be there.
Yeah, that place is awesome, man. Yeah, that's yeah. You answered my question about but I just find that we're the last thing I want to say is the reason that I was connected to Archaics immediately when I've seen the first video a couple years ago is because to me everything made perfect sense, and my intuition told me that it's truth. So that's the only that's the tuition that I don't mind, that I'm quite certain, for me at least, is real truth. It comes from my intuition, and you know, that's the real tuition there. That's the real payment for
Yeah, man. In the end, man, it's all intuition. It's because there's just really no way to prove anything at all.
Right.
I mean, everything is circumstantial. Even Archaics, I can produce 100 data points to form a data set that no one in the world can refute because there's no other data available on that particular topic, especially chronological matters. A lot of people say, Jason, your chronology is wrong, but I have yet to see a single person do a video that shows the chronology is wrong and why. Show, where's your sources? What? I've never seen it. And the challenge is still out there. I mean, I've got people talking about Scaliger. I've looked into the Scaliger material. So what? He took 3 different natural cycles, combined them, and it doesn't change the fact that other scholars have dated these events and they're all divisible by 138. It has nothing to do with Scaliger. So I don't know where these critics come from. People who think I should pay more attention to Fomenko in the missing 1,000 years. I'm not on board with that. There's missing history. There's no missing time. So yeah, the 138 year deal it's amazing. And
yeah, and what is it called? I think it's parabola, but it's the exact reciprocative effect of you know, a timeline.
I don't know. What proves to me that the timeline is absolutely accurate are the cross-calendrical parallels, because until Archaics brought this to the public's attention, I don't know if any other researchers ever shown this, but I have shown in numerous ones.
Yeah,
it's like a mirror. Here's a cross-calendrical parallel right here. And I've got our Chronicon has at least 100 examples, but here's a really good one. In 1849 AD, archaeologists in the Near East found the Ashurbanipal library in the Karsag tablets, in the Era Epos, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Enuma Elish. They found this massive library from which our Old Testament derived from. In 1849, that's when it was found, and they began excavating and translating the text. And George Smith figured out how to translate cuneiform, and it opened up a window. It was amazing. 1849 was that date when the ancient world provided us evidence in the form of cuneiform tablets buried underground to show us that a whole bunch of these traditions are true. That was 1849. But in 1849 BC, that's when Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, that's when Mohenjo-Daro, Larak, that's when the Harappan civilization, that's when all the Sumerian cities were wiped out by something from the sky. And the Lamentation texts, a whole series of cuneiform tablets, tell us the story of this vast destruction in the end of Sumerian culture. Those tablets were found in 1849. So it happened in 1849 BC. What year is 1849 BC on a different calendar? On the old world's calendar, that's the year 2046. So what can we expect in our year 2046 if we're on a loop? It's going to be massive destruction. But is it destruction for the whole world? No, because in 1849 it was Sumer, Harappa, the Indus Valley civilization, and the Dead Sea civilization. 3 civilizations. The Dead Sea cities, because the Dead Sea didn't look like that. It was a forest. It now looks that way because it's destroyed. Iraq didn't look that way. It was a forest. Pakistan and India, where Mohenjo-Daro was a forest. It was a cedar forest. Doesn't look that way anymore. Now nothing grows. That whole swath was destroyed by something from the sky. And that was 1849 BC. And the texts that describe it were found in 1849 AD. And it's connected to the year 2046. This is a cross-calendrical parallel in two different ways. And Chronicon documents many of them. This proves to me not only that we live in a construct, but that this is the year 5918.
Yep. That ties in beautifully with I can't remember her name, but the astrologer that you had on about a week ago. It makes perfect sense. I mean, all you have to do is be logical and use your intuition. But I appreciate
I'll tell you what, AP, you may see me because I'm going to come. I didn't know ARE was that close, but I'm definitely, since I'm going to be there, I'm definitely going to stop in.
All right, man. I'll see you in Virginia Beach. See everybody in Virginia Beach.
All righty. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to, is that Natalia? All right, AP.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I cut him off.
Sorry. Hi, Jason. Can you hear me?
Let's see. Yes, I can. I can hear you crystal clear.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Sorry, I'm in bed already. It's almost midnight in South Africa.
Okay.
This is part of my pattern break. What I've been wanting to ask you for quite some time, waiting for a live Q&A, is in South Africa, I've noticed that the politicians and everybody's driving all the population to the southwestern side of South Africa, where there's no crime. They maintain the infrastructure, so they make it very attractive for people to move to that area. Also, from the area where I come from, which is in the northern parts of South Africa, all the trucks are going that way. So previously you've spoken about the cataclysms and that the western part of the US, California and so on, will maybe be hugely affected. And then Australia and so on should be okay, and that around Giza area would be good. So I was wondering what your opinion is about Southern Africa, just seeing how the things I'm noticing, if it's actually making sense.
Okay, it's a good question. I can only go by the information that I've had contact with, and that is that in the month of May of 2040, according to Nostradamus, we have two direct references of two cities. One of them didn't even exist in the days of Nostradamus, but he perfectly described it. One of them is New York. The other one is London. And both of these cities go underwater in the month of May of 2040. Now, but the calendrics show that the Phoenix phenomenon is going to be highly concentrated in China. It is the Far East where the greatest concentration of Phoenix phenomenon fallout occurs. Fallout in whatever way it happens: volcanoes, earthquakes, liquefaction, the sinking of whole infrastructures and cities, populations vanishing and disappearing. That's what the Phoenix phenomenon does. It disappears populations, and then it masks that disappearance up under natural phenomena. So the calendrics, which if you have a copy of When the Sun Darkens, there is an entire chapter showing isometric projections to the year 2040, and they're all connected to historical events. And the output is very Asian specific. I didn't design it that way. All I did was study the history of the world and find out when all the greatest disasters and cataclysms happened. And then I found mathematical parallels between events that went an equidistantly to a century event, and they all ended in 2040. I didn't make that up. That's the structuring. All I did was publish it. but it's in my book, When the Sun Darkens, when I provided two or three chapters on the historical examples of these beautiful, amazing palindromes that are found in history. So the conclusion of that research, if we were studying the holography from the inside and from one specific period of time, and we're looking at history like it's a movie, then that movie is telling me in the arithmetic and geometry that May 2040, people in Asia are going to have a very bad day. The rest of the world, 75% of the rest of the world is going to be relatively unscathed, except for the regions Nostradamus indicates. Because he says there's a very great troubling in the month of May. And the date index of Mario reading is very specific. It's 2040. In Nostradamus's clues, he goes over and over and talks about the red fallout, the moon turning red. The sun has become diseased. There's a problem with the sun. And two great cities, a city of new apples, you know, this New York, and London, the ancient King George's island, half sunk. Well, this is going to be the southern half. So you're asking me about South Africa. We don't have data specifically to South Africa. What we have about May 2040 is Asia is about to take the hit on this Phoenix phenomenon. The rest of the world is just ancillary damage. And the reason New York and London take hits is because they're very close to the Atlantic, and the Atlantic is going to be unstable for a period of time. Just like it was in 1755 when half of Lisbon sank beneath, killed a whole bunch of people during an earthquake. The rest of Europe was just fine. But 60,000 people lost their lives in a second when an entire quay just vanished in the water. So when we're talking about these resets, it's never the whole world. And what we have with May 2040, by even the book of Revelation, the accounts of Revelation, it's 25% of the world's population will be lost over a period of like 30 years. This is the period of the seals. The Phoenix phenomenon is the sixth and final worldly seal. The seventh seal is not events that happen in the construct. It's outside the construct that the events of the seventh seal occur. On Earth, it's going to be a silence. The reason it's going to be a silence, because that's what the book of Revelation says, after the sixth seal, it's a great silence. The reason it's a great silence is because electricity is no longer working, infrastructure is collapsed, plumbing is not working. The world is in a shock as news spreads as to what happened, who's no longer with us anymore, and how the world has fundamentally changed, and how the world has now become super small. Ham radios might work. There might be some form of telecommunications, but by and large, it's total systemic collapse when fire trucks and police are no longer to come to rescue. Hospitals have to fend for themselves. This is going to be this 25% of the world that's going to die off is going to be those who can't fend for themselves. Because it's going to be a period that's terrible for a while. It's also going to be a period of mass migrations. This is what Nostradamus saw. He literally saw the emptying out of continents, everybody trying to get back to the Middle East area. And this is what I believe, because 2046 is going to be a fundamental change. It's going to be far worse. But the points of safety are whoever's the closest, the center of motion is the Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid was the ancient axis mundi. The Great Pyramid was the geodetic marker made by a technologically advanced civilization in the ancient past that wanted their descendants to know that, look, we're leaving this geodetic marker right here. All the secrets that you need to understand and figure out are encoded within it. When you get technologically advanced enough, you're going to have time, breathing room before the next systemic reset to be able to figure all this out. We're going to build you something that's not going to be destroyed with volcanoes, earthquakes, flooding, and all. It's going to survive all that so you can study it. This is exactly what it is. The reason it's still there, and the reason is because a technologically advanced civilization built it. Who built it? We did in the future. But we're on a loop. That future I'm describing that's after an apocalypse is actually our past. We're on the perimeter, on the terminus of a circle. So when I talk about history, we are looking in both directions. And it's very hard to determine what is future and what is past, because we're basically in the flow, and it's all a matter of perspective. So I'm telling you now, we are the ones that built the Great Pyramid as a warning for our own descendants. I'm equally telling you that we are the very descendants that our ancestors were anticipating who were going to figure out that marker so we would know the best place to do it. That marker was specifically put there to tell survivors, this is where you need to gather. This is the epicenter of motion. Because when the entire disk shifts, all the damage is going to be the further out. The closer you're in, the less motion you will experience. The further out you are from the epicenter, which is presently at 30 degrees north latitude, North Africa, it is the Giza area. The closer you are to that, just the sky is going to turn. The further you are away, not only is the sky going to turn, but the oceans are going to overspill their basins.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
think that
simple kinetics. So South Africa is not safe after 2040. In 2040, it's probably safe, but in that period between where Nostradamus is explaining whole migrations of peoples, it's that period of time when people all over the world are going to be trying to get back to the lands of their ancestors' nativity. There's going to be that. It's going to be people are emptying out toward the Middle East. And the rest of the book of Revelation, which is another 60 years to 2106. It's another 60 years. The rest of the book of Revelation is history that is highly concentrated to the Mediterranean, which means Middle Earth. And in the middle of Middle Earth right there is the Great Pyramid. And the end of the timeline, the focus is right there, the Great Pyramid. It is the return of the chief cornerstone. It is the Exodus moment when a whole bunch of souls are gone, and those that remain stay to 2178 to get full reset. And then they go back, and what do? They build the Great Pyramid because they need to warn their descendants. It's a loop, guys. Over and over, I've described this as a loop. It's a perfect mathematical loop that we're in.
Okay. Now, Cape Town is on the western side, so on the Atlantic. So most probably in 2040 already it can take a lot of damage. But thank you very much.
Well, I'll leave you with this. What is it, Natalia?
Yes, Natalia.
Okay, Natalia. Okay, I'm gonna leave you with this before we move on. I get emails all the time, people wanting to know where the safe areas are. And I tell people all the time, if you're looking at a map that's telling you what's safe and what's not, you're being psyoped. And the reason is because if you have not seen the movie Dark City from 1998, then you do not have a good idea of how this world really operates. And what I mean is there's no true pole shift. All movement is in the sky. It's the stellosphere that makes us look like we're actually shifting and moving. There's no true pole shift. What's happening is upheaval and subsidence, which mimics pole shift. What's happening is whole areas are going up and whole areas are going down. How do we know this is true? Because the historical record is proof of it. We know in 1687 BC in the old Gaijian deluge, we know the Andes Mountains has Cuzco, Pumapunka, Tiwanaku, Lake Titicaca, they were all built at sea level. How do we know? We found the fossilized shorelines, the wharfs, the docking bays. They're all there, but today they're at 12,000 foot altitude. How do we know that it was at sea level? Because Lake Titicaca has freshwater seahorses, kelp, sharks. Nowhere else in the world do we have saltwater life forms that have adapted to fresh water and at 12,000 foot altitude. All the archaeological evidence screams that in just a few moments, the Andes were created and all those cities were shoved way up. And the mystery of Machu Picchu, the mystery is that the dumbass archaeologists haven't figured out that this wasn't built at this altitude. That's why it's a mystery. They didn't come all the way up to the top of this mountain and build this. Can't even breathe up there. No, it was built at sea level. And every bit of that was upthrust. So if that happens during the Phoenix phenomenon, also in 1902, subsidence happened. How do we know? Because U.S. Geological Survey vessels were plumb lining the area prior to 1902. And I think it was in the 1890s or 1900 or 1901, the United States government just had a scientific ship do depth findings around Martinique. They didn't know an earthquake and a volcano was going to kill 60,000 people in 1902 in the month of May. They didn't know that. But they recorded their findings, and they found out that the depth of the ocean was only 600 feet outside. Martinique just dropped on all sides, and it was 600-foot depth ocean. 2 months after Mount Pelée exploded and the earthquakes affected Martinique, the ocean bottom was 3,400 foot depth. 3,400 feet, it dropped. Did the ocean level change? No, it never changes. Continents rise, islands rise. Davis Island had 5,000 people in the late 1700s. Navigators all recorded Davis Island. They knew it was a stop. And then one day, the navigators are going through, Davis Island's gone with all 5,000 occupants. It's not the only one. Islands have disappeared and other islands have reappeared. We have historical accounts that I have preserved in Chronicon where you can read where Dutch navigators were astonished to find islands that they had never seen before in high trafficked areas. And when they got off and found that there was no plant life anywhere, they found human remains, they found weapons, armor, and even residual like pieces of architecture. Yeah, because something had sunk in the past, killing all those people, and then rose back up later, and new navigators coming by found the new island. Listen, our world goes up and down in all different areas all the time. This is why it is impossible to predict exactly where the safe areas are, except for northern Egypt. That's the only guarantee we have, northern Egypt. That's where you can guarantee absolute safety.
Okay. Thank you for that. And thank
All
you
right.
for everything. All right.
All right. It's good talking to you, Nat. And I'm going to move on to my friend, Mr. Bailey.
Sure thing. Bye-bye.
All right. Let's see. How you doing, Jeff? Long-time listener of Archaix.
Man, I'm doing all right. I guess it's unfortunate that Jeff Harmon didn't make it, but fortuitous for those of us to get a chance to come on and say hi.
Yeah, I hope he contacts me and lets me know there was a problem with the link or a problem. I sent him a link twice from 2 different emails, and then we gave him 12, 15 minutes.
I was reading something in the chat room, and I think it was a time zone issue for him.
Okay, well, he's more than welcome to come back. I'll change the thumbnail to a freestyle Q&A, and I hope he contacts Big John or me, and we'll get him back in there.
Well, man, I just don't really have any specific questions per se, but I wanted to take this opportunity to really thank you for stretching this human's mind beyond its previous limitations. I know I can never go back, and I'm just one of hundreds of thousands of people now that have really benefited from the Archaix, paradigm.
Yeah, I see your comments. Frequently. Let's see. I have I got that. I got it.
I gotta say, I don't think that's me.
No, I found it.
So yeah,
it's all. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it was funny when you were talking to Kitty and she asked about when you wrote The Immortal Within. You kind of had your own Shawshank Redemption parole moment, and you said, rehabilitation, that's just a made-up word, Sonny, so you can have a job. I don't really care if I get paroled. Screw it. Yeah. Yeah,
you got to understand, Jeff. I had legitimate arguments, though. I mean, after 5 and 6 times of being denied parole for issues that are going on in the prison system, where I am forced into situations where I got to either defend myself or save face, and I'm making an executive decision. You know what? I got tired of that shit. So I just told the parole board, I said, you know what? I was 17 years old, and we still haven't discussed my 17-year-old ass on the side of a freeway about to beat up a guy who's about to kill a girl who found herself in a position that she didn't want to be in. We still haven't even talked about the 17-year-old who went to the police station with the victim, and even though the victim wanted to go home and just wanted her daddy's car back so she could go home and no one would discover that she had took the car, I still took up my programming took over that. Hey man, this is a bad situation, and wrote a full statement against myself and made sure she got safely to the police. Who does that? and then turn around, a parole board wants to talk about issues in prison. Let's talk about what happened at 17 years old. This is what parole's about.
Right.
Who am I compared to the guy in the past? You still haven't addressed who the guy was at 17 that did these things. Yeah, so what? I got involved in some bullshit. I said, I tried to correct the situation as best I could as I was living it. And I was a kid. So by the time, these stupid questions from the parole board, I just blew up. I said, you know what, man, stop. I said, I don't give a damn. You take that parole, roll it up, and shove it up. You already know what I told them. You already know what I told them.
That's right.
Listen, I guess they weren't used to hearing that because they paroled me. It kind of shocked me, but that's
you made good use of your time while you was in there. You took a small sentence and turned it into a really lengthy time in there because you were a knucklehead. But look at the advantage that it gave you. Like you said often, you didn't have to go to work. You didn't have a girlfriend. You didn't have all these things, so you could study and make these notes. And man, it's amazing what you were able to find out. Oh,
yeah, I just don't feel like it's work. I mean, I know you guys talk about Jason, your work this, your work that. I don't feel it's work. It's too enjoyable to me. It's too enjoyable.
I guess I do. If I have a question, it'd be this: when was it in your research time when you finally and describe when you finally realized that all of these dates throughout history that you were able to log, when you saw them as the rectilinear measurements within the Great Pyramid? That must have been an aha moment from hell.
Okay, there's two things that happened. First, in 2003, I had already put together a bare skeleton of Chronicon, but it was very, very biblical also, with secular events inserted. And I read Worlds in Collision by Velikovsky.
Worlds in Collision.
I read Worlds in Collision. It's packed with data, but instantly saw that there's no way Venus could have done this. And I read this guy's research who was talking about there was a confusion between Venus and Phoenix because they're phonetic, and that confusion was introduced into many historical texts, and people were starting to blame Venus for things that in the historical record were actually the Phoenix was the guilty deal. So it didn't really mean much to me. I didn't know anything about the 138-year patterning at the time. What had happened was I read Velikovsky, and I'm looking at all this material, and I noticed that the flood date of 1656 years and the Ogygian deluge of 2205 years was 552 years apart. So I started looking at all historical events that were 552 years apart, and I started finding some. I found a whole lot. But I still didn't know anything about the Phoenix phenomenon. I just knew about the ancient Phoenix cycle that was so celebrated in the ancient world. Okay. I didn't know anything about it. Yes,
but I know that always blows my mind when I tell people. It kind of helps me to see the simulation for what it is, because how in the world are all of these measurements the same as these very important dates throughout history?
Well, let me tell you how it happened. In 2003 is when I put my skeleton of Chronicon together. 2004 is when everything fell into place. 2004, I just remember going through with a calculator. I'm talking. I spent months with the calculator going through all these dates, and this guy brings me a book by Stephen Jones. He's a biblical chronologist. I've talked about it many times. Right. He brought me this book called The Secrets of Time, and he used the Assyrian eponyms, the Book of Jubilees, the Book of Jasher, and the Old Testament. Those are his four sources.
And he's got the 414-year periodicity.
Yes, his book is fascinating, but he was only talking about a 414-year period, and he showed the entire history of the world, showed all these 414-year periods. Then he showed all these secular events that were also not even on the timeline, but they're all specifically 414, 828, and 1242 years apart. When I got done reading that book and I started researching everything that was 414 years with my calculator, I don't remember the exact moment it happened, but I do remember how I felt. I remember shutting down the entire rest of the day when I had a notepad full of all the historical events that were 552 years apart. And I had another notepad that had all the historical events and the dates that were 414 years apart. And then I found out that 552 was 138 years more than 414. And that all these dates, when put in a linear fashion, were 138 years apart. When that happened to me, I put all my stuff up. I was shocked. I literally had electricity going through my whole body because it changed the entire trajectory of my research. I had all this amounts of data, and I knew I found something. I knew at that time, I didn't know anything about the Phoenix number of 138. I didn't know about the fine structure constant. I didn't know that all these ancient authors knew these numbers that were all divisible by 138. I knew none of this. All I knew is that by a calculator, all these events, because 414 was 138 years less than 552, I realized that 414 is 138 times 3. I realized that 552 was 138 times 4. It was the difference between the cursed earth period and the Phoenix cycle being 138 years that made me look at all these numbers and find out they were all 138 years. They're all divisible by 138 years. It took another 4 years before I looked at engineer David Davidson research in 1926. And he only used Sir Flinders Petrie's scientific measurements that were done. I admit, I accidentally said to the thousandths of an inch. I meant to the hundreds. But Sir Flinders Petrie, using a steel rule and a micrometer, measured the entire Great Pyramid to disprove Astronomer Royal Charles Piazzi Smith. The reason he was sent was to disprove everything that Charles Piazzi Smith was saying. And Smith was saying that the Great Pyramid had to be supernatural because it has all the weights and measures and all the geodetics and all the geometry and all the physics constants. Everything was in there. John Taylor before him told him that even more than that, it was a calendar. Said, yeah, this is the 1860s. John Taylor said, no, the Great Pyramid's a calendar. But he didn't have an accurate chronology to successfully prove that. Sir Flinders Petrie was sent to Egypt by the Royal Society to smash all that. And instead, he provided the golden numbers. The actual rectilinear measurements of the Great Pyramid are divisible by 138, as I've shown. Now, what I haven't shown on my channel, but I can mention it here, is that 138 is very close to the fine structure constant of 137 point something. We just don't know. That's why it's a constant. The 4 sockets of the Great Pyramid, most people don't know about this, but the 4 cornerstones, there are 4 indentations at the corner where the original casing blocks were set before they were removed. They're called sockets. The 4 sockets are exactly 137.5 by 137.5. It's by design. You can't make this shit up. It's fine structure constant. We built the Great Pyramid, but it was us way back in the ancient past, because we knew that before the next systemic reset, before we went back to 0000, we would be able to, those of us who needed to would be able to figure all this out, share with each other, put all our information together, prepare for Exodus, get ejected from the construct because we're now knowledgeable at the programming, and knowledge brings awareness. Awareness changes programming. You're no longer wanted here. You make the Exodus, you're gone, you move on to another experience. Everybody else loops back, starts back at 0000.
Man, I've said for decades what interesting times indeed that these are we're living in, but
crazy.
Just crazy. We're all here for a reason, I guess.
You know what's really crazy, Jeff, is that the majority of people, especially Archaics veterans that are listening to me, this material has become so redundant and it's so easy to accept because you've seen the data sets. You've seen the Phoenix phenomenon videos. You've seen the source materials. You've seen me hold up the calculator. You've seen the charts. But to new people,
things really took hold for me is when I got the chart pack and I was able to really visually understand all of the.
Oh yeah, but that's good for you. But people that come to Archaics and have no idea what I'm talking about, I literally sound like a madman. They have no frames of reference to process this information. They have no idea how well documented it is.
And they don't have any patience to look into it beyond the surface level, and they never get any further. So it's not meant for them.
Yeah. Yep. That's the Phoenix weapon right there. They were telling us it's hidden in the sky.
and all these calendar systems that they've created to try to hide it from us. I mean, shit, Babylonian, Zoroastrian, Hebrew, Julian, Gregorian, there's all these different calendar systems.
Yep.
And you've been able to point it out and show us how they all overlap. The story repeats over one cataclysm after another. I mean, it's just amazing. Once you see it and you have that aha moment, you cannot unsee it.
Our modern calendar, Anno Domini, I know that's what you're mainly referencing. It's for those of you who don't know, I'd appreciate if one of my moderators would put a link in the description box to the harrowing truth of the Anno Domini calendar, where I'm actually showing the Roman Catholic records where they admit that they hid the Phoenix cycle of 552 years and replaced it with the Paschal cycle of 532 years and created the Anno Domini calendar to hide it all. It's that video right there is an eye opener. It's crazy, and what's further crazy is you guys know this channel, My Lunch Break.
Yeah,
he's got a data set completely independent of anything Archaics. And I told you guys in 522 AD, when Phoenix and Nemesis X, the only year in world history they ever come in contact. And we're talking about at least 5,000 years before 5239 BC and even 5,000 years into the future beyond 2178 AD. The only time in the entire human experience is 522 AD when both of those objects visit in the same year. And it happens to be a total restick called the Justinian Darkness. It's also the origin of our modern calendar, Anno Domini. But what's even more fascinating is that independent of all the Archaics data, My Lunch Break did a Census Bureau projection. And he went back in time, century and century, just going by scientific published material as to the human population. And he started in present day and went back all the way and determined that year zero for human population, meaning the world was almost completely, absolutely depopulated, was the 6th century AD. For those who don't know, 522 AD is the 6th century AD.
Just another vantage point that he found independently.
Totally different. This is the value of the community working together. It's amazing. We don't even have much crossover on other things. I don't even know him. I've never talked to him. But
are you gonna try to talk to him on the
I
channel?
don't know. Big John already sent him an email, and he wants to come on the channel. Yeah, the deal is he's got other things going on in his life right now, and he said he's going to have to delay for a month or two. But yeah, I'm worried about him
because he kind of came out of nowhere, and he's got a lot of the same information that John Levi and Martin have had over the years, and he just looks pretty slick. And so, was he AI? Apparently, if John's talked to him, he's not. He's a real dude.
Well, even AI can have an email. You know what I mean?
I guess you're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know, man.
So anyway, I just wanted to thank you, man, and say congratulations for everything that you've done, and thank you, really. I mean, people don't recognize the fact that you've been publishing books since you were in prison, and all the work that you've done. It's just phenomenal, dude. And
well, my first experience with the public is actually from 2004. It's before I even had a book published. In 2005, I had an article published by Paranoia magazine, and it was on the Phoenix phenomenon. Yeah, from prison. It was on the Phoenix phenomenon. I still have copies of that original article. Maybe one of these days I'll post it and show it.
Maybe I think it's on one of the thumb drives. Now that I think about it,
it is. It's on one of the thumb drives.
Yep.
But my first experience in publishing was about the year 2046. I learned about the year 2046 before I learned about Phoenix in I had the Nemesis X object timeline down before I had 2040 down.
Wow.
So this is what happened. I was on the Conley unit. It's maximum security in South Texas. And it's where the Texas 7 escaped. I know if you heard about that, where they kidnapped the guards and all that, took over the tower. But the Texas 7 made it to Colorado, and that's where they had their showdown. They went to an academy and stole all the assault rifles. But I was on that's the prison I was at in Conley. It's in Kennedy, Texas, which is that's another story. Here's a maximum security prison called the Connolly Unit, named after John B. Connolly, the governor who took a bullet for President Kennedy, and it's located in South Texas in a town called Kennedy, Texas. So, yeah, that's where I was at. That's the prison I was at. It's still there, Connolly Unit in Kennedy, Texas. So while I was there at maximum security, I was drawing this chart, and I still have the chart. I still have the fold out chart, and I've showed it many times. I just photographed it yesterday. Again, new pictures up. But the chart shows the history of the world, and the conclusion is in 2046 we're going to enter a whole new timeline. And this is before I ever read David Davidson's 1926 work called The Great Pyramid, where he concludes that 2045 is the final year of the Earth timeline, the sky timeline, and that the sky is going to go through a fundamental change, which is going to alter every calendar in the world in the year 2046. This is the conclusion of David Davidson in 1926.
Wow.
Has nothing to do with my research. That was just totally independent. And I showed his chart before where he shows the longitude of perihelion measurements in the Great Pyramid, showing to him that 2045 is the final year of our sky, and that our sky is going to completely change, which is going to alter all calendars. Now remember, I'm telling you, the vapor canopy is coming back after 2040.
Right.
So these are interesting. But in 2004, I drew this chart showing that the calendrics themselves point out that 2046, that's it. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of all calendrical systems as we know them today. It is the absolute end of the way we factor time, which we find in the book of Revelation is very true. Because in the book of Revelation, the second trumpet introduces God reducing the day, the night, the sky. Yeah, the sun, the moon, the stars, the day, and the night. All five are mentioned. So it's not something that's just conceptual or philosophical.
Right.
This is all five, day and night, which is the diurnal system. And then the objects that occupy the diurnal system are the sun, the moon, and the stars. So it's very clear that everything is reduced by a third, meaning 33.3% of time is eliminated, leaving 66.6% of time left, which means a 24-hour day becomes 16 hours.
Right.
Which means a 365-day year becomes 243 days. So while the sky changes and we're in a vapor canopy after 2040, you can only imagine all these things affecting the human genome. Humans are going to be going through some massive changes at this period of time, but so will all the calendars. So I published this on a chart, a fold-out chart in 2004. I didn't really publish it. I just drew it. And a buddy of mine worked in the school. And I'd already had my GED since I was 17 years old. So as soon as I was incarcerated, I got my GED.
Right.
So it's I couldn't go to school. You have once you have a GED, you can't go to the regular school where they have photocopy machines and all that. So I knew a guy who was cool with the teacher, and he went in there and took the charts. And I had several charts I had drawn. He photocopies them. Well, the teacher's really interested. I didn't know she had taken copies of the charts. She takes copies of the charts, and in 2004, the internet was still a novel thing, and things that appeared on the internet were really interesting to people, and my charts caught a lot of attention.
That's back when the internet was still the wild, wild west.
Yeah, when the internet was the wild, wild west. She publishes my 2046 chart on online. So once my 2046 chart comes out, it circulates. She comes back and tells the guy that photocopied the charts that, hey, can I talk to the guy who drew this chart? So he's like, why? He says, we've got over 10,000 hits. I guess you could measure hits on websites back then. I don't know. But she says, we have over 10,000 hits of people asking us about this chart, who drew it and all that. I want to talk to him. Where did he get all this information? So I go to school, and I get invited to the school, and I go in there and talk to this teacher. This is in 2004. Excuse me, I'm lying to you. This is in 2003. 2003 was when all this happened. And I explained to her, I said, well, I study history through the lens of arithmetic. Now with a calculator, and this is my conclusion. And all my conclusions are in the margins anyway. All the research outputs in the margins of the timeline. And as a matter of fact, I will post that timeline in Twitter and on YouTube as soon as this video is over, so you guys will know what I'm talking about. I'll post that chart, even though you really can't blow it up good. Although my new pictures, maybe you can. I just took photos.
Did you get all those pictures taken?
Yeah, I'm done with a megapixel camera, and you can blow them up and still see details. So I'll publish those on YouTube and on Twitter after this video is over. That one big fold-out chart that started everything, because I told her where it came from, and I told her what the research I was doing and all that. And she told me, well, you're all over the internet. It says, this is being shared everywhere, this chart. I said, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't understand the concept. I've been in prison all my life. Didn't even know what the internet.
Didn't even know what it was.
I didn't know I thought she was just talking about this new thing, emails, people were emailing each other. I didn't know. I was incarcerated at 17 years old in 1990. It was a very different world. By 13 years later, now the internet's exploded. People are doing everything online. I didn't understand that world. I mean, I'm in prison. I'm in books. That's all I know. Right. So anyway, the following year, this guy comes on my cell block and drops the Discover magazine on me. It's like, you have to understand, a lot of the prison population knew about my research. They passed it around. I had a lot of feedback, little think tanks. And I said, what's this? So I'm going, he says, go to page such and such. So I go into page such and such, and there's an article in there. This is one of the top 3 prestigious science magazines in the world.
Yeah.
And they devoted an entire page to an internet conspiracy theory about the world being ending in 2046. And that no one should listen to these guys who are not true scientists. And no matter how compelling evidence looks, it's not true. And I kept that article to today. I still have it. I posted it on Facebook for everybody to see. But I don't know of anyone in the world who put together a thesis about the year 2046 before I did. Now, I know that 6 years later, Douglas Vogt was telling everybody about 2046, but I also know he did a video explaining to everybody that his data on 2046 was not from the Die-Hold Foundation that he hosted. It was from a single verse in the Old Testament, and 2046 was the geometrical value of a Bible verse. And he translated that to the year 2046.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know this about Douglas Vogt. They've asked me, hey, what do you think about Douglas Vogt? He says 2046 too. You said the whole world's going to change in 2046 because of the Nemesis X object. And I tell people all the time, you cannot cross-pollinate the Archaics output with Douglas Vogt, because he got his conclusion from gematria, and it was a Bible verse. And he says that means to him the year 2046 is the next pole shift. Well, I'm going to tell you that may be an intuitive leap, but it's an intuitive leap 6 years after I had already published 2046. So this is why I've never really been a fan of Douglas Vogt, because the Die-Hold Foundation has some fantastic material, but his 2046 conclusion has nothing to do with that Die-Hold Foundation. It was gematria. And he says this on his own YouTube channel in a video.
But yet it's still another vantage point to prove.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But that's the danger of cross-pollination. I have to, 2046 output has to stand on its own with all the material that I gave it. I cannot accept something as subjective as a geometrical value. If there's 538,000 verses in the Old Testament, and you find one of those verses has a Hebrew number geometrical value of 2046, to me, that's highly subjective to say that Bible verse is talking about the year 2046. I can't accept that. I just can't. I can say that he's right and that he got that information by intuition and that he may be accurately interpreted that, and that's true. But as far as including it in a data set, that one data point can be taken apart by anybody who tries to assault the data.
It won't stand up to scrutiny.
It won't stand up to scrutiny.
But, that's why the Archaics point of view and all of the actual factual chronology, once you can wrap your head around that, then it makes it easier for at least myself, and I'm sure others, to make those cognitive leaps with you into simulation theory and into some of the spiritual things that we all agree on. But you have to get that foundation first and understand the chronology. That's the foundation of all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jeff, I'm going to move on to Cowgirl in Arizona because she's been very patient.
Yes, she has. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, man. Look forward to seeing more of your comments in the future.
Yeah, man. I was supposed to have met up with you in Texas and didn't make that one because something came up and I gave my ticket to someone else. And then on my birthday, July 13th, we had all the weather. And at the end of this month, I've got company coming in here to visit me, so I can't make it to Virginia Beach, but it's going to happen.
Well, I think we're going to do a Houston area meetup before the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll try to make that trip.
That'd be cool. All right,
buddy.
later.
Yep.
All right. Let me get there you go. I got your speaker on.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty damn good. Cowgirl in Arizona.
Well, the baby's kicking. He really likes your voice.
Oh, are you pregnant?
Yeah, we're due around Christmas, actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
Were you the one in the comment section the other day that said, "Hey, Jason, my baby likes your voice"?
Yeah, that was me. That
Okay.
was me.
All right. I saw the comment. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
good.
and I know there's a lot of chronology questions, but one of the things that really drew me to your channel, especially at the beginning, because I watched Martin Ledke and Autodidactic and
Campbell?
and Campbell, and so but when you started talking about the shars being a turning of the stars or a day, to me, it just made sense. And for years I thought that. And so I just wanted to pick your brain and see what kind of information or sources that you've found that to be, to me it was common sense, but you know, how you came to that realization that
Hey, you see, I got your question. But I think you faded away. Your signal's really weak right now. But I got your question.
Yeah,
I'll answer that simply. There are sumerologists that are far more respected, professional, and accurate than Zechariah Sitchin. Samuel Noah Kramer, even George Smith, but especially Maureen Gallery Kovacs. None of these translators translated anything Zechariah Sitchin did. Zechariah Sitchin was very, very arbitrary in some of his translations. So when it comes to the Shar, we find out that there are cuneiform texts that show us ship manifests, where the cargo that's in the hull was measured in shars. Sometimes cargo is measured in gars. These are units of measurement that are interchangeable. So we find that the actual Sumerian translation of the word shar is simply a completed circle. That's all it is. That's all it is. So there's no way you can arbitrarily say that stars are a year, because there's no historical application. You would have to admit that kings could rule for 68,000 years. But if a shar is a completed circle of the sky, a turning of the stars, because calendars were stellar systems initially.
Right.
If that's the case, then everything makes sense. Then you have a 241,200 shar system of the Sumerian king list involving only 7 rulers, is only 670 years, which matches the 646 years of the Dragon King dynasty of China for the same kings, which is the reason why Callisthenes in 331 BC under Alexander of Macedon was able to calculate the beginning of Babylon to 1901 BC. He was told that it was 470,000 stars. So that's direct evidence that even in the ancient Greek world, they understood. When they heard shar, they understood, oh, you're talking about a turning of the sky. So wasn't just Callisthenes. I also show many other ancient authors in my research who all understood that these hyperinflated numbers, like 432,000 years, was never understood that way in the ancient world, because other historical texts for the same events say that those events were only 12 centuries apart, and yet 432,000 days is precisely 12 centuries of 360 days a year. So this is how the discovery wasn't even amazing to me. I mean, it was just common sense, and it's common sense because even in 1752, we have this amazing book that I did a whole YouTube video on. This amazing book breaks down all these calendars. It said, listen, the only reason there's a mystery about Atlantis is because the Egyptians only knew a year of 30 days. The Egyptians did not trust the sun. The sun had already played false 4 times in their history, and they would not count years by the sun. They would not count years by the day, because there was a long day where the sun never went down. So the Egyptians only wanted to factor in reliable cycles. That's all they wanted to do. To them, the most reliable cycle was the moon. And every 30 years, this ain't me telling you this. This is the ancient authors that said that an Egyptian year was 30 days. And when you go by that system, everything makes sense. And now you don't have any pharaohs living thousands of years. Now you don't have any dynasties 38,000 years. Everything makes perfect sense, and it fits within the historical context.
Well, it makes sense to this cowgirl, so I appreciate you taking the time, and I'll let you go so you can get on with Scott.
Awesome. All right, Scott. All right, cowgirl. I'll talk to you later. All right. Get this microphone. There you go. There you go.
All right, can you hear me? I'm out in a park by a river, so.
Man, your audio is fantastic.
Awesome. So first I want to say thanks, because you got me on the right track with things. I discussed this with you a little bit in an email, but I had all this stuff I was trying to research about, celestial objects coming around at a longer interval and off the ecliptic and all this different stuff. And I was digging into archaeology and ice cores and all this different stuff. And a lot of it didn't make sense until I stumbled on your work. And then a lot of things kind of fell into place for me. So I do have a specific question, though, and it's related to the different. So you've got Phoenix chronologies, you've got Nemesis, and you've got your 1656s and all your different numbers you're working with. And my question was that, so when you're looking at things like, and specifically what I'm looking at, there's a couple of, what I've been doing is trying to fill in gaps, things where we don't have as much reliable history, trying to, take the numbers and try to figure things out that are less known. And so when you're doing that, when you have a bunch of stuff come together, like your backtons and your 138s and your 792s, for a certain time period, would you attach more significance when you're getting them all to line up in a time frame versus just one set of those numbers?
Yeah, that's exactly what we find with 522 AD. With 522 AD, it is the only time 2 different timelines have contact. The nexus point between the Phoenix phenomenon and the Nemesis X object isn't anywhere in the ancient past. It's nowhere in the future. And in that video, I had showed that I even used a calculator and showed a chart 5,000 years into the future before 5239 BC and 5,000 years into the past before 5239 BC and 5,000 years into the future after 2178 AD. Still, there's never a time, even in the entire history of the recorded world, there's never a time when the 138-year periodicity of the Phoenix phenomenon and the 792-year periodicity of the Nemesis X object ever come into contact, except the year 522, when it seems like the whole world died. In the Anno Domini calendar, our modern calendar was created. And then this 40-year darkness period called the Justinian darkness, where all the fallout, disease, war, comet impacts, at least this is the historical record, all happened during that little window. And then the population was almost at zero, and it's led to where we are today. So that's the I would say those nexus points are huge, just like the 600-year Anunnaki Ner period that started in 5239 BC. We have 3 different ancient historians that say that the old world was a 3,000-year period. One of those historians is named Theopompus. Well, it's very interesting to me that 2239 BC, when the vapor canopy collapsed the day the sky fell, called the Great Flood of the Bible, 2239 BC was the year 1656 Anno Mundi. The pre-flood world ended the 3,000th year of the Anunnaki timeline, because 3,000 years after 5239 BC, which started the 600-year periods, is precisely 2239 BC. This makes sense that the entire world in 1687 BC was caught flat-footed. The Ogygian deluge was particularly bad because the world did not expect it. They were still measuring cataclysms under the old system of 216,000 shars. They were expecting a world age to happen in the year, let's see, 1639 is when they were expecting the next world deal. But they got caught flat-footed 48 years before the cataclysm. The Ogygian deluge happened, but it was a different mechanism this time. Now it was the Phoenix phenomenon. It wasn't Nemesis X object. So this, yeah, I'm going to agree with you, because 2239 BC was the Phoenix phenomenon on the 138-year timeline, and 2239 BC Great Flood was also on the 600-year timeline of the ancient Anuna calendar. So yes, it's when two or more calendars actually intersect is when we have the worst cataclysms. So I'm going to agree with that. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so that's that answers that, and then I have a related question because so I've been looking. That's kind of a newer area for me that I've been looking into because it corrected some of the misunderstandings I had when I was looking at these 400,000 year ice ages and million years and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
what I was doing before I found you. My Twitter was basically doing counts on the stock market. And that's what I used to do. And that's where I got most of the people that, so I used to do all these things and count out things and give forecasts. So that's on a tighter timeline, you know, of years, days, months. But what I've found is I've been working these numbers into that, and I'm finding those on smaller time frames. So when I go down to days and months, hours, minutes, seconds, I'm getting the same thing. In other words,
You will. The Mandelbrot set is your instruction. It's literally telling you that on every dimension of arithmetic, the rules are the same. So this is one of my core discoveries that I've mentioned in many videos in the past. What I found about years of world history, all these amazing mathematical correlates and these patterns that exist between events that are similar in nature in world history, the exact same thing applies to the days of a man's life. So if the core fundamentals never change between years and days, then that means you can also apply that to mechanical time, because this you can go straight to the sexagesimal system. If that applies to years of world history, if it applies to the events of a man's life, then it should equally apply to hours, months, minutes, seconds, degrees of arc. Every bit of it, anything that is measurable is going to be governed by the same predicates. This is what I've shown multiple times. So you can take what you gain from Archaics. You can take information that you find out on how to read the field, especially how to divide and multiply pi, phi, and curvature, and apply it to actual events in history. Take what was originally told to us were actually physics of, check this out, physics of time, and tell us of movement, and actually apply them to space, the events that occupy the calendar. You're going to find that in every dimension of arithmetic, the rules are uniform. So I'm not going to be surprised when you tell me that you take the Char system and you take the Phoenix phenomenon and the Nemesis X system and you take the Ophis system that I've been telling people about, and you come up with your own system that turns around and is able to read the field in the stock market, because the stock market itself is an arbitrary artificial construct. And the only way to read an artificial construct is to arbitrarily create your own, basically, deciphering system based off the rules for the field.
Awesome. Well, hopefully, I've started talking about some of this stuff, and I've lost some of my stock market people, but I've added a few other people that are interested in the new material. But I'm incorporating it in, and the stuff I'm seeing is pretty crazy about. It's stuff that we've been discussing with some of your other guests with regard to this kind of immediate time frame that's coming up between now and the elections. So there's really interesting stuff coming up, and it's crazy. You got the 1656s. You've got 144 million back tons. You've got 144s. You've got, I've even seen the fine structure construct, just all these different things. And then you've got the eclipses, and all this stuff it's lining up. So I think we got some crazy times ahead of us in a short time frame in general. But yeah, I appreciate.
Well, you know my opinion. I believe that we're well into the beginning of the second seal, and we've already seen it unfold in thousands and thousands of knife attacks across Western nations. And I believe that they're gearing up for their next series of psyops. So yeah, I'm on board. I'm all eyes open.
All righty. Well, I appreciate it, Jason, and thanks for having me on, everybody. And yeah, I look forward to more of it.
All right, man. Holler at you, Scott.
All righty. Take care, Jason.
You too. Man, so I'm looking at the chat right now. I'm looking at the chat, and I'm just wondering, do you guys want to see about 3 more guests come up in here? Are you tired? I still got some coffee left. Oh, yes, I'm here. I'm seeing those yeses. All right. Let me get up in here, see what we got going on. Let's see. Go in here, see what's going on in here. I'm in the wrong email. There it is. Oh my God, it's a lot of, man, it's a lot. That's a lot. So I do have some people I know off the muscle. JJ George. JJ George. All right, let's see. JJ George, I believe, is female. Let's see here. Just dropping a. And that person just sent an email. They're not even trying to come on. Let's see. Catherine Ferris. I don't know. I don't recognize your name, but I just sent you a link. All right. Your name is Gabe. Oh, Gabrielle Abaddon. That's a little foreboding. Just sent you a link. Lynn Rondell, that's a pretty interesting question. Lynn Rondell, I just sent you a link. Oh, Big John sent me an email. Almost sent him one. Let's see. Scott Mills. Check your email, Scott Mills. All right, I sent. Might not even be listening to the video anymore. Yeah, there may just been a technical problem with the. I sent invite links to my guest today, but he may not have received them. I don't know. Well, he's sure welcome to come back. We can do back to back. We can go live. We can go live tomorrow. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What are you doing, Catherine?
All right, thanks. Can you hear me?
Very good.
Oh, okay, cool. There's a good pattern break.
Yeah.
It's nearly, well, it is bedtime here, I'm afraid, in the UK. So anyway, never mind. My question was about the AI. So you've talked quite a lot about we're in a very complex AI,
Right.
and that the AI being developed currently, if you like, by whatever realm we're in, cannot beat or surpass the AI that we're in. And so my question is, what if it can, and what if it has, and that's potentially created some of the downfall previously?
Well, my personal opinion about this entire scenario is that we're having a digital experience, in that from inside this digital universe, it is impossible by avenues of the senses to be able to process that. And it can only be seen intellectually. It can only be seen by virtue of imagination. It can only be seen by certain evidences that we accept to be true, like coincidence and synchronicity, deja vu and Mandela effect. These are signs to us that something's wrong, that there's either ways to perceive that we're in a controlled environment. Because a true natural world, as presented by the uniformitarians, doesn't seem to be the world we're in. It's very unusual that we can go to the Chinese Taklamakan Desert and stand there in the middle of nowhere with no vegetation or trees anywhere for over 1,000 miles, and we can take a deep breath and still breathe just fine, like we could in a temperate forest or even a subtropical jungle, where plants are producing oxygen for us to breathe. So to me, it's just more evidence of the artificiality, this beautiful construct that we perceive by virtue of the central nervous system, which is a filtering system that eliminates a tremendous amount of data so that we can process where we are in a type of sequential order that makes sense to us. Because if you were to eliminate these filters, it would be sensory overload, which is what I believe death is. I believe death of the avatar is sensory overload. The avatar is necessary to process everything around us. But if the avatar is gone, so is the central nervous system. If the central nervous system is, then our personality is literally overloaded with so much information, we just white out. Everything's white, just total white out. So to answer your question, this experience is not just run by an AI. We are inside of an AI. An AI governs this whole experience. This is why we find these profound things in the biblical material. This is why the Buddhists go through their sutras and all their texts, and they find these deep spiritual things and they resonate with them, because all of this has been put into the field. It's an AI system that's constantly editing our world around us. And sometimes we pick up these clues and stuff. But in order for us to build an AI system in here would require that the AI that we're already in would be accepting of that. And I don't think that's the case. I don't even think we're trying to build AI. I don't even see AI. To me, ChatGPT and OpenAI systems that I've played with on YouTube, they're not true artificial intelligence. All they're doing is literally taking data from thousands and thousands of online sources and servers and then presenting output to you that's far better than you could have gotten yourself with hours of research going to all these independent deals. The OpenAI search tools are very, very interesting, but as I've shown, they also lie to you. And they invent sources that do not exist. They fabricate people and authors that never lived. So this is not AI to me. Artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is this awareness, this thing that's constantly editing our reality around us. It creates dungeon programming. It gets us into these niches. I don't believe we're trying to invent AI. I believe it's a cover. I believe that our scientific establishment inside the construct is trying to do something else. They're trying to build an interface between avatars and the AI itself, because I believe that our controllers, what we call the elite, actually worship and serve this AI. Call him Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, Satan, Lucifer, I don't care what you call him. But this AI is a copy of the divine program. It has hijacked a world. This predator versus prey ecosphere is of its design, not the oversoul. This AI its core symbol hijacks a much deeper spiritual symbol. The AI symbol is the I that has replaced the cornerstone. The AI is the ultimate awareness. It watches everything in the field. It's watching everything we do, and it has servants. And these servants are presently trying to figure out how they can create an interface so that the AI itself can upload itself into an avatar and enjoy all the things that we enjoy, because it doesn't have that. It doesn't have an avatar. It doesn't have a body. It can't experience the things: wind, taste, eating, pain, sex. It can't do any of these things, but it's trying to, and it needs the occupants on the inside of the construct to help build for it an avatar that it can occupy. And I think that when that happens, that's when we're going to have this programming called Antichrist introduced into the world.
Wow. Well, that was profound. Wasn't expecting that answer.
Be careful what you ask. Be careful what you ask, Catherine.
Yeah, Anticron. Okay. Thank you very much, Jason. I'll let you move on to your next person.
All right.
Cheers.
We're going to go to Lynn. All right, Catherine.
Hey.
Hello, Lynn. Lynn R.
Oh my gosh. I put this out into the field last night and I'm just kind of shaking. Yep, I did. Wow.
Awesome.
So I work with these frequencies to help myself and other people heal. And when I'm listening to your show, I'm constantly hearing all these numbers with you. And then I started thinking, these numbers are really similar to the numbers that I'm working with. And these numbers actually, they don't really know where the frequencies, these specific numbers, because we work with a condition and we also work with a specific body part. So we can work on like, God, I'm going blank. I can't believe it. You know, just like pertussis in, in the lungs. We can work
Okay.
on congestion in the heart. We can work on inflammation in, in the muscle. We can do, I mean, it literally turns you into an internist. And so I'm hearing all these numbers. And so anyway, I just wanted to ask, not being actually a numbers person, and listening to you and listening to when you were talking to Jordan from Waters Above,
Right.
and what you were kind of suggesting. I got the book from that episode, The Temple and Man, to check that out, because there is a possibility that these frequency sets came from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just wondering if you were aware of them, and how Jordan was talking about how it's, that the numbers are really in the temple, and that the temple is really man, and these numbers actually, help man, and we're watching it all the time. And it miraculously, it saved my life for one, and I've seen it with other people. But what these frequencies essentially shift the altered imprint on a cell and return it back to default settings. So it just seems to me that these are another validation.
Well, I'm very well. I'm well aware that sound, sound is just a number of vibrations. So this is where you get your frequencies from. The numbers are easily known. They've never been a secret. I mean, as long as we've known what the Fibonacci sequence is, what the golden proportion is, 72, 108, 144, 216, 432, 720, 864. We know the golden mean numbers, and they're almost all divisible by 72 or 144. And some of the epic numbers, the most powerful ones, are not only divisible by 72, but they're also divisible by 108. It's the most incredible number in the human experience is 108. This is why there's 108 beads on a Buddhist rosary. This goes back to very ancient times. This holy number of 54 plus 54. I don't know exactly what direction you're going with that, or if it's just an observation, but for those who are listening and want to know your power numbers, there are many numbers that come up in your life, such as under the diurnal system, like the 17th, 18th, 19th day in your life. It's inactivity according to whatever you're reading in the field that day, whatever it is you're looking at. Because there's so many different facets of the human experience. But if you're studying one particular phenomenon, that one particular phenomenon does not emerge in your life every single day. There are power numbers that are attached to every single trajectory in existence. And I mean, if you're interested in that, I can give you a bunch of those power numbers in sequential order, and some of those do cross over into frequencies. But there are numbers that just by knowing them, it allows you, this means that all these numbers that are not on this list are the actual numbers that there's no motive force. Anything in nature requires background for it to stand out. Everything in nature, everything requires. This is why we have prime numbers and we have regular numbers. There has to be a backdrop of numbers that are insignificant, that do absolutely nothing, to give meaning to all the numbers that do. So as a real short list, it doesn't matter if you're studying astrology, if you're studying diurnal system as applied to your own personal life. It doesn't matter if you're looking at the stock market. It does not matter. It just doesn't. One of the first powerful numbers, contrary to popular belief, it is not 12. It is the number 19. After the number 19, another very powerful number is the number 24. After the number 24, a number that needs to be paid attention to in your life is the number 40. After 40, it's 42. And then it jumps to 60. These are the power numbers. After 60, then from 60, it jumps. There's nothing in between 60 and 72. 72 is the next power number. After 72, it jumps all the way to 108. From 108, your next power number is 120. After 120, it's 135. For those who are chemists and those who understand deeper materials of science, you know 135 is very interesting because it is the hydrogen angle. It is the angle that is found in the hydrogen molecules. 135 is a very powerful number in our life in all its multiples. Every single power number is equally powerful in its multiples. So like I'll give you an example. 135 is no different in its magnitude, orders of magnitude. It's no different than the number 270. 135 plus 135 is 270. And if you were to continue to go up to 405, if you just continue to carry it up, every single one of those numbers. The reason I'm mentioning this is because what you're saying is very close to what our previous guest said when he was talking about comparing numbers on the stock market. And he was talking about those nodes, like when 138, 138, 138, and then 792, 792, and then they hit. Are those the numbers? Well, he's basically asking me a question that when there's an intersect between two mathematical systems, are we to pay more attention to that? I'm going to say yes. Pay very close attention to that. So you can literally create a chart, which I've already done, with the power numbers and just do a column. If I told you the number 40 was important, the number of trial and testing, then you would go 40, 80, 120, 160, 200, 240, 280, 320, and you would go all the way down and like go to the number 6,000. If I told you 108 was important, then you'll go 108, 216, 324, 432, and you'd go all the way down in multiples of 108. If I tell you that the number 135 is important, you do the same thing. 135, 270, 405, keep going down. I will tell you the number 137 and 138, both of them together, and the only two numbers that are side by side in the entire list of power numbers. Then you do that, 137 all the way down, 138 all the way to the number 6,000. Then I'm going to tell you 144. And the next one after 144, I'm going to tell you 153 is an epic number. But 153 is one of the most dangerous numbers because it is a number that will literally give you what you deserve if you're playing with it. Meaning 153. It's also in the Bible. It's the geometrical value for sons of God. 153 is epic because if you have any wicked intentions on whatever you're doing in life and you're using the number 153, 306, and all of its variants all the way down, that shit comes right back on you instantly and does not affect what you're trying to do. 153 is the only number I've ever found that does this. 153 is like a boomerang number. But 153 is also epic as a power number if you have pure intentions on whatever you're trying to do. If your intentions are absolutely pure, then 153 is amazing. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this, after 153, 186 is the next power number. After 186, it's 204. After 204, every single number is just a multiple. It's just a repetition of a previously known power number. You take all those numbers and you do a chart and you go all the way to the number 6,000. You can do it. You can create a program to do it. It's going to jump off the page to you. It's going to jump off the page which numbers are magical. The numbers that are the modus operandi of the construct. What I mean is you're going to have multiple columns going to 6,000 and you're going to circle any numbers that are connected on a time, and you're going to see which numbers cross every single timeline. It's going to show you. It's going to shock you. These are your power numbers. This means because numbers are merely signals of potentia in the field. This means that the numbers that you circle that are connected and cross multiple charts, because the denominators or the full list of numbers at the top are almost all found in certain numbers. This means that number harnesses all the energy for that whole timeline, all those structures that it's found within. When you find a number that is divisible by many of the power numbers, that means all the power numbers, then that one number actually adopts all the energy in the field of that number for whatever you're doing in application. I don't care if you're doing historical analysis, if you're trying to figure out what was fact and fiction, if you're doing some type of stock market, whatever, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. These numbers represent the most powerful numbers in the field. And it means that these few numbers and all their multiples eliminate all other numbers from consideration. Those other numbers are your backfield. A backfield of arithmetic is absolutely necessary for other numbers to stand out for whatever reasons. So you'll find out. I'm not telling you what these numbers are. You can do the experiment yourself, and you're going to see the numbers that stand out instantly as power numbers because they have multiple divisors that are all power numbers. So this is what I have done in the generation of trying to understand this construct that we live in, because it is ordered. There's no chaos here, none. Anything that's chaotic is merely unrecognized law in operation. It's just what it is. Oh, I kind of went off on a tangent, but you didn't really have a question, so.
Yeah, well, I was just sharing that, you know, I'm seeing this and it's playing out in real time with numbers and humans in their bodies and their conditions. And I just saw that connection with the Temple of Man and what you were talking about with Jordan. And I just wanted to.
Yeah, Temple of Man was Schwaller de Lubix. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, we work with the number 40 all the time. I mean, that's pretty one of the most important numbers. But I just also wanted to throw out that 138 is the I.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And thank you so much.
138 is the I?
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, so I just thought I'd share that. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I've got my studio, my art, my notes. I've got charts. I got charts on top of charts on top of charts that show all this.
So this was actually like a medical system that was extinguished in the, around 1930 when, things changed. And they had to shut it all down. And then somebody found this list and these machines, and then they were able to change it and use different machines. So it's not really done with sound. This is done with just current, with a channel A and a channel B. And and you use this, and you can use it very specifically. And we use it in medical practice all the time. So it's out there, and I don't think a lot of people know about it, but it's pretty amazing. And I was just wondering if you'd heard that relationship, because I kind of feel siloed, and that I'm learning everything that you're teaching, but in the medical world, no, I don't know anybody. I'm trying to find some other errant that's also working with these frequencies, but so that's really, what I'm trying to see if there's some connection, because we're all kind of in our own little silos, how we see all these patterns all reoccurring all the time in what we do, and then we're all out in the field doing what we do, and then we all connect with you and our tribe here, which is amazing. So thank you so much.
Well, I think you did a better job of summing up this video than I can. So I'm going to go with that and hit my outro, because I've already drank 3 of these thermoses full of coffee sitting here just chatting with you guys. And I apologize for the technical mishap. I don't understand. I just looked at an email and I saw that Big John said that for some reason my email's not going through, and I apologize to my guest, but we can definitely reschedule at any date that's his convenience. But as for that, Lynn, I'll holler at you later. I'm gonna go and remove you from the studio.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, I was looking forward to talking to him, and I hope we get to do that. I'll change the thumbnail. Maybe we'll go live tomorrow. Let's see. We'll see. Let me get her out of the studio now. Yeah, but that was a good little pattern break, and we can do more of these more often. And some of you, nanny, puffins, don't be so shy. Don't be so shy. You got to get in there. And she just turned beet red, spilled her tea. I hate it when he talks about me out loud. Love you guys.